Sister Lan, Chang Yi said, listen to my heartfelt words. Go ahead. Chang Yi said, I know my fate, it lies between October to December of this year. Even though you don't want to accept it, I'm afraid you have no choice, right? Blue Demon's body trembled gently, but she didn't speak. Chang Yi said, where do you think a person's best fate should lie? On this small island, amongst this sea and sky, or should it be on a foreign battlefield? Blue Demon's eyes slowly closed, but her grip only tightened. Let me die like a martyr. Let my name also be recorded on the Qianlong's Wall of Heroes. Chang Yi said softly, whether or not this is my last mission, I have no regrets truly. Really? Blue Demon's gaze slowly opened, her eyes glistening. Yes, in my childhood, born in an orphanage, I never thought this speck of dust, wandering in the world, would also shine brightly, entering Qianlong. I have a sister like you, a sister like Xinyu and the old man. I can feel the warmth of home. You still have him, Blue Demon added softly. Yes, him too. You won't laugh at me, but I left a letter for him. If I don't choose to stop within 3 months, the letter will be sent to his phone. Blue Demon looked up at the sky outside, her chest gently rising and falling. Sister Lan, you will give me this chance, won't you? Blue Demon raised her head for now, looking longingly at the person before her who was both a sister and comrade. Her heart was a tangled mess. Chang Yi's destiny was already sealed. Ultimately, the world cannot keep. A vibrant blossom either wilts beneath the autumn wind or withers on the battlefield of blood and fire. Chang Yi chose the latter. As her best friend, as the person who understands Chang Yi the most, what can she do? Blue Demon's hand slowly released, she slowly turned back, slowly walked toward the courtyard gate, slowly walked to the hovercar by the shore. The hovercar slowly lifted in the air, seemingly at a loss. Finally, the hovercar broke through the sky, disappearing into the unseen. In the outskirts of Fengcheng City, by Tashan Lake, Lin Ziasu strolled under the willow shade. Strolling by Tashan Lake has been part of his leisure routine lately. The affairs at the detective agency, handled by Miao Rulan and Zhou, were going well. Some ordinary little cases required Lin Ziasu's involvement, so he could relax, play at the Yishui waterfront, stroll by Tashan Lake. Rulan even prepared a fishing kit for him, giving him a leisure activity, but Lin Ziasu lost interest after trying it a few times. Fishing, indeed leisurely. Yet he didn't have a leisurely mind. Taking a walk, pondering over some questions, watching flowers bloom and fade at Old Tashan, is indeed quite pleasant. Suddenly, a smiling face appeared under the willow shade ahead. Miao Rulan. Getting a break too, Lin Ziasu said. Yes, Miao Rulan smiled lightly. Walk with me. Lin Ziasu raised his hand, grasped hers, gently guiding her under the willow shade, seemingly leading to a familiar embrace. Suddenly his heart jumped. The person in his arms. No. Be precise, the person about to be embraced, something's wrong. She is a genetic person. Every nerve in Lin Ziasu's body suddenly tensed, but a familiar voice came to his ear. It's me. Stay calm, let's walk. Blue Demon. She wasn't Miao Rulan, she was Blue Demon. Why come here? Lin Ziasu abruptly paused the embrace, yet still held her hand, sending a whisper into her ear. A sudden incident together. Tell me. Blue Demon said, Chang Yi is about to go to the Middle East to carry out the task of retrieving Wang Zhang's. Lin Ziasu's heart jumped sharply, her. Yes, Blue Demon said, an order from above. Not her voluntary application. No, an order from above, Blue Demon said, that's the real reason I'm here to see you. A ripple swept through Lin Ziasu's eyes, like Tashan Lake beneath his feet. He gently exhaled. Is there a reason for choosing her for the task? There's a reason, and it's very reasonable, Blue Demon said. Someone above thinks our greatest leverage right now is that Wang Zhang's secrets remain unexposed. Nine-headed snake doesn't know that Louis is Wang Zhang's. And if a person at Heavenly King level goes to the Middle East, the target becomes too big, which might create trouble for Nine-headed snake. Having someone like Chang Yi, not strong in cultivation, but adept at handling complex matters as an intermediate level personnel, carry out this top-secret mission has a greater chance of success. Pinning hopes on the enemy's ignorance in this era is quite ironic. Lin Ziasu chuckled lightly. Perhaps their true intention is to have her bind the person truly suited for this task. Bind who? Lin Ziasu's finger lifted slightly, pointing at his own nose. Using Chang Yi to bind him. The person to bind is Lin Ziasu. Chang Yi is his closest relationship in Qianlong. As long as Lin Ziasu knows Chang Yi is going to the Middle East for the most dangerous task, he will surely follow. Qianlong has no way to directly assign a task to him as non-staff, but they can assign a task to Chang Yi, and once Chang Yi accepts the task, Lin Ziasu is simultaneously bound. This might be the real intention from Qianlong above. To go to complex places to carry out the toughest tasks, who else in the world is more suitable than Lin Ziasu? I just say if, Blue Demon said, if above truly has this deeper meaning and you have also interpreted this deeper meaning, then what about Chang Yi herself? Has she interpreted it? She definitely has, Lin Ziasu said. However, she hasn't contacted you. Blue Demon's gaze flickered. Precisely because she has not contacted me that I concluded she has thoroughly interpreted the genuine deeper meaning behind this order. This was hard to understand. A Blue Demon understood completely. Wang Zhang's is hiding in the Middle East. Qianlong must take action, and it has to be done with the utmost speed. This mission is extremely difficult. Bringing Wang Zhang's back alive is harder than killing 100 Wang Zhang's overseas. This kind of mission is actually a king-level mission, possibly even beyond. Ordinarily, it shouldn't be executed by Chang Yi. Chang Yi's level is still a bit low, although she has made significant progress in her cultivation since her last nirvana. Her combat power alone is close to Blue Demon's. Combined with her poisonous techniques, her overall combat strength is not inferior to the lowest king level, but facing this kind of task is still difficult. In the world, the ideal person to complete this impossible task is Lin Ziasu. When it's inconvenient to send Lin Ziasu, assigning the task to Chang Yi, indirectly assigning it to Lin Ziasu, is also a way of utilizing talents. It's a neutral term, definitely not a conspiracy. However, the current situation is so complex. Lin Ziasu ranks second on the death list. He's the person the entire Western world wants to eliminate. If he does not step out of the country, Nine-Headed Snake can't reach him. Once he steps out, his life or death hangs in the balance. Can Chang Yi see this? Of course she can. She knows how dangerous this mission is, yet she's not afraid of death because she understands clearly that she only has a few months left to live. Whether sheltered in a greenhouse, she would wither in a few months, so why not die on a distant battlefield? However, she also saw another point. That is, there might be a conspiracy targeting Lin Ziasu behind this. She can't fathom what this conspiracy is, but she can shatter it from the root with non-communication. She doesn't contact Lin Ziasu. Lin Ziasu knows nothing about the matter, so there's no reason for him to enter the Middle East. The Skynet and Earthnet outside, as long as they can't penetrate national borders, can't complete the encirclement against Lin Ziasu. I am torn truly, Blue Demon sighed gently. You think you've disrupted Chang Yi's thoughtful intention? Lin Ziasu smiled softly. Yes, if there's truly a conspiracy against you, her concealment protects you, and I came purposely, yet pushing you towards Ghost Gate. Sister, do you remember the war strategy we set the first time we met? Blue Demon said, unconditionally trust your comrades, isn't it? Yes, you have to trust that you told me the truth out of trust. You have to trust more where there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. Blue Demon stopped. She gazed at the surface of Tashan Lake for a long time. This is her itinerary. She extended her hand, handing a note to Lin Ziasu. Thank you, Lin Ziasu glanced at it and said, the time is a bit tight, I have to go. Wait, Blue Demon said, let me ask you a question. Go ahead. Do you believe in destiny? My heavens, sister, did you really ask such a question? Lin Ziasu laughed. Anyone who knows me knows I am the least to believe in destiny. So-called destiny is just a consolation for the weak. In my dictionary, destiny is meant to be broken. Let's not discuss this topic. Next time we meet, I'll show you exuberance. With one movement, he vanished from the lakeside, and the next moment he was in a taxi. Driver, Huanggang High-Speed Railway Station. Blue Demon stood at the Tashan lakeside, quietly watching the taxi go off into the distance. She asked herself once more, was it correct to come today? The lake water flowed gently, and no one could give her an answer. Perhaps the only comfort was his last words. Next time we meet, I'll show you exuberance. There will be a next time. He is still full of exuberance. This might be enough. If this is a comfort, then he also has a hopeful phrase. Destiny is meant to be broken. He doesn't know what the destiny he refers to is. He doesn't even know Chang Yi's destiny. In the human world, he has created countless miracles, broken countless destinies. Can he hold a glimmer of hope for Chang Yi's destiny? This is too hard. The whole Qianlong with countless talents still couldn't solve this life's problems. He's not a researcher. How can people believe he can break it? The taxi sped along the highway. Lin Ziasu made a call to Miao Rulan. After hanging up the phone, he leaned back on the car seat with a very serious expression. Some things have started to become terrifying. Not only he felt it, Chang Yi actually felt it too, and so did Blue Demon. This thing today could have been settled with a phone call. She didn't. If she found the phone unsafe, was Dragon Eye communication supposed to be the safest in the world? She also didn't use Dragon Eye communication. At Tashan Lakeside, she was pretending to be Miao Rulan. Despite the not-so-short distance, she didn't use her flying car to send him. Everything pointed in one direction. Blue Demon has already materialized her inner concerns about Qianlong. She dares to use Dragon Eye communication to analyze the most confidential cases, yet she doesn't dare use it to discuss Middle Eastern affairs. Chapter 393. Chapter 393. Foreign Country Dual Journey. Southern Airport. People coming and going. The jewelry exhibition, spanning half a month, has long drawn to a close. But its aftershocks linger. An exhibition that showed the Western world the prosperity of Daxia, the charm of Daxia, the cultural heritage of Daxia, and deeply imprinted this coastal city called Yangcheng in their minds. During this time, international flights have been continually adding routes, making Southern Airport increasingly bustling and prosperous. Countless people set off from here on a journey to foreign countries, flying towards distant lands with dreams of life. Many also return, carrying the life realization of leaves returning to their roots. All travelers are foreigners, and their thoughts are like duckweed in water. Chang Yi, dressed in a trench coat, dragging a suitcase, slowly turned back at the airport entrance. Behind her, the myriad lights of Yangcheng. Beyond Yangcheng, the night sky covers Daxia's thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. Her mind utterly serene. Her eyes flickering with ripples. Little Sue, my beloved, where are you? If someday in the future, amidst the vast sea of people, you're never to see me again, do not cry, do not grieve. As one walks through the world, people are like duckweed. Being able to spend this time with you amidst the vast sea of people, in Chang Yi's world, there was not just the long, long night, but also a glimpse of starlight. The starry sky is silent, no one, no message, no dependence. Chang Yi entered the waiting hall. With the sound of electronics, she passed through the boarding gate. At this moment, her appearance completely changed, her identity fully altered. But no matter how it changes, her identity can withstand any security check. Destination: Derda country in the Middle East. The Middle Eastern land, rich in resources, oil everywhere, where digging a backyard might spew oil. This place truly embodies the phrase, overflowing with wealth. It's genuinely a place where oil flows anytime, anywhere. In the era of resource competition, obtaining the Middle East is like obtaining the world. If the Middle East were a unified nation, it could leverage its resources to dominate the globe, yet it is not a unified nation. It is dozens of countries of varying sizes, different sects, different beliefs, a fragmented structure, which makes it unable to be the diner at the global dinner table, but only the dish on the table. Yingyu country, Bear, Lu country, Su country, each foreign force contends here. Local countries, Yi too, Yi country expand and infiltrate here. Even major countries can't protect themselves, let alone this small country, Derda. Over time, Derda country is deeply divided. Several dozen armed factions exist, each backed by hidden hands, even multiple hidden hands. At the national level, it is not friendly to Daxia. Due to heavy Western infiltration, and the Western world's fear, led by Yingyu country and its affiliated countries, of the rapid rise of the Eastern world. Because of the many factions, Derda country has become a haven for fugitives. Entering this chaotic land means no one can catch them. Daxia's early iron-handed strikes against Utopia drove many to escape here. Strikes against Nine-Headed Snake also caused many of them to reach here. This includes Daxia District's highest person in charge, Wang Zhang's. Wang Zhang's led dozens of senior members into Derda and subsequently joined a faction called Mengu. Mengu backed by Yingyu country. Yingyu country, the world's #1 military power. All signs indicate that for Chang Yi to bring Wang Zhang's back to the country, The difficulty is truly unparalleled. But she has support. The Zia hidden dragon has been preparing in the Middle Eastern land for a considerable time. Durda has a hidden dragon force. She has already established contact with this force. They've begun preparing the lure the snake out of its hole strategy. Yet whether Wang Zhang's will fall for it remains unknown. Middle East is perilous, Chang Yi certainly knows. Yet she is fearless. Achieving success in this mission would mean a perfect conclusion for her. Failing to succeed and leaving her life on the foreign battlefield is better than dying painfully due to genetic rejection. On the plane, she organized all arrangements. After disembarking, she set foot on foreign soil, gazed at the still star-filled night sky, took a deep breath, and gently raised her hand to call a taxi. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. "Miss, traveling alone in a foreign land isn't much fun. Why not an overseas double trip? Relieve loneliness together." The voice was light-hearted, the voice carried teasing. Chang Yi suddenly turned back. Her eyes at this moment seemed to blossom two delicate little flowers. Two little flowers swayed in the spring water, facing the dark space behind. The wind blows, branches sway. Starlight spills, streetlights cast slanted shadows. A young man stood behind her. With a smile on his face, who else could it be but her reluctant old flame, Lin Ziasu? Her heart at this moment is full of excitement. Yet amidst the excitement, another element is infused, leaving her momentarily unsure how to face this complex situation. Lin Ziasu gently lifted her hand, holding her shoulder. "I know you don't want me to step into danger, so you chose to go alone, but you also have to change perspectives. Can I just watch as you face all these crises alone?" Chang Yi sighed softly in his arms. "Blue Demon still told you. Although I'm closer to you than her, my dear wife, when it comes to understanding me, you still have to learn from her. At least she understands one principle: trusting me is more important than protecting me." Chang Yi slowly raised her eyes. "I really want to trust you, I've always trusted you, but coming to the Middle East was still a huge mistake. The Middle East is already a powder keg, and if information about your presence here leaks, we'll face an unprecedented disaster." "Currently, they don't know I'm in the Middle East," Lin Ziasu said. "By the time they find out, they probably won't be able to react in time." "How did you get here?" A strange light flickered in Chang Yi's eyes. "The way I got here is somewhat taboo," Lin Ziasu said. "I randomly knocked out someone in line and disguised myself as him to board the plane." Chang Yi's eyes widened. In general, there's only one method to disguise an identity: changing appearances and boarding with a fake passport. But he directly knocked someone out and used that person's identity to board the plane. Others use fake passports. He had a real passport, but the person was fake. This disguise technique is clearly very hardcore, but it also has its advantages. That is, no one can truly know that he's in the Middle East. Even if there's a traitor within Qianlong, even if they're constantly monitoring his movements, they couldn't find his trace in any passport because he didn't process any passport. He used a randomly selected one. Lin Ziasu looked into her eyes, slightly misunderstanding. "Don't worry about these details. The person I knocked out will just spend the night sleeping in the airport bathroom. No one will die." "You're too hardcore," Chang Yi sighed lightly. "So what? There's someone even more hardcore than me," Lin Ziasu said. "At least I used a passport to make a show of it. And she goes straight to stealth. Airport security, it's like your home's garden gate." Chang Yi's heart suddenly skipped a beat, staring at a certain spot in the dark. At that spot, a beauty slowly appeared. It was Xinyu. "Xinyu, you." Chang Yi just uttered 3 words before Xinyu grabbed her hand. "Sister Chang Yi, don't say anything. You don't mention my unauthorized actions, and I won't mention yours. Let's be discreet sisters in this foreign country, shall we?" "Discreet?" "That's the point Xinyu accused Chang Yi of. You ventured into danger alone without even telling me. That's what you call indiscreet." Chang Yi inhaled silently and nodded. Xinyu settled with Chang Yi and turned her gaze to Lin Ziasu. "Lin Zios, you're quite the surprise. How did you discover me?" "Scent, I smelled your unique fragrance." Xinyu looked puzzled. "I didn't know I had a scent, and such a unique one. Could it be the legendary virgin fragrance? In this era dominated by lust, where virgins are almost only found in kindergartens, it stands out as so pure and refined." "Damn." Lin Ziasu didn't know how to answer. Chang Yi's eyes gently shifted. "All right, those who should and shouldn't have come have already arrived. Let's head to the destination overnight." She was filled with countless emotions. Originally, she planned to act alone, not wanting to bring her loved ones into danger. But her loved ones cared about her too, and they all came. What more can be said? Accept this affection and strive to complete the mission. However, just as she was about to hail a taxi, Lin Zaiasu stopped her again. Don't go to your destination for now. Chang Yi was startled. The destination, Qianlong's base, the overseas base, is the foundation for completing overseas tasks. Skipping over this base and completing tasks on one's own, how to proceed? The difficulty is too great. When executing a mission in a dangerous place, there's a golden rule: exploit a gap in the enemy's thinking. We will change all your original settings. The first step will be completely different, Lin Zaiasu said. What do you suggest we do next? Chang Yi asked. Disable the dragon eye positioning function. Completely become invisible. Chang Yi's heart was racing. Disable the dragon eye positioning function. Again, a strategy that goes against the overseas protocol. Qianlong members are most prohibited from acting alone. The more dangerous the place, the more important it is to ensure the dragon eye's connectivity. The dragon eye has a positioning function. Even if you have an accident, as long as it's covered by satellites, the technical team behind Qianlong can find you. Disabling the dragon eye means severing all connections. Even Qianlong couldn't find you. What does this imply? Lin Zaiasu is starting to show distrust in Qianlong. All right, after a brief inner struggle, Chang Yi decided to accept. She and Xinyu's dragon eye disabled their positioning functions immediately. Let's agree on a place to meet tomorrow night, Lin Zaiasu said. Grant International Hotel, I'm using the name, Chang Yi said. Good, for the next day, we don't need to contact each other. Let's act separately and gather information about the target and everything behind it. With the instructions given, 3 figures moved in different directions, like 3 drops of water merging into the chaotic capital of Dirta. Chapter 394, Chapter 394, Simple and Rough. The next day, at night, the Gert International Hotel, a magnificent sight, casting beautiful reflections over the bay below. On the 8th floor in the presidential suite, Chang Yi sat by the window, the night breeze blowing gently at her coat. She quietly watched the bay below. This hotel was her choice. This room, too, was intentionally chosen. If danger arose, she could leap into the sea below at any moment to increase her chances of survival. That was the sole reason for choosing this room. Suddenly, the wind outside grew fiercer, seemingly swirling. Chang Yi's brows furrowed slightly as she stared at a certain spot below the window. Xinyu's voice came from behind her. Did you actually discover me or not? If you didn't, you did react. If you did, you looked in the wrong direction. As her voice came, Xinyu's figure slowly appeared in the air. First her face emerged, then her clothes, which shimmered with flowing colors and then transformed into ordinary garments. This was Qianlong's most unique dragon armor, specifically approved by Chief Long for Xinyu's invisibility trait. Just in terms of value, this dragon armor was on par with king-level ones. Chang Yi smiled faintly. Rest assured, I truly can't see through your invisibility technique. I just knew you would come. Can it smell the fragrance of innocence? Xinyu said. Chang Yi's face was inscrutable. Stop showing off. I'm not innocent, it's not worth bragging about. Your showing off is understood by few in the world. Luckily, I understand. Xinyu said, gossiping aside, with a suite this grand, how many rooms do you have? Would you want me to wait outside when you're messing around with Comrade Xiaomeng? Get out, Chang Yi shot her a glance. Can't get out now, it's time to analyze the battle situation. Where is Lin Xiaomeng? Why isn't he here yet? Someone gently knocked on the door. Xinyu jumped up and looked through the peephole. Her brows furrowed as she saw a stranger, a serviceman outside. The door opened, and before her eyes, the serviceman's facial expression transformed miraculously into Lin Zaiasu. The door closed and Xinyu was very impressed. Xiaomeng, you. Lin Zaiasu raised his hand. I know you're very impressed with me. No need to rush with the compliments. You can save them for the meeting. Xinyu was dumbfounded. How did you know I wanted to compliment you? Maybe I was going to criticize you instead. Lin Zaiasu walked across the room to the window. As he walked, the heavenly Tao primordial spirit was released, confirming the room was free of surveillance. Chang Yi handed him a cup of tea. The strategic analysis began. Chang Yi started first. Wang Zhang's, alias Lewis, upon landing from the Dirta airport, His itinerary was completely controlled by the local Qianlong base. He brought 37 people, all loyal followers of the nine-headed snake Daxia district, and entered Mengu. Mengu, backed by the Yingyu country, possessed various high-end military equipment, abundant resources, and over 30,000 direct troops, also a vast perimeter of power. Even in Durda's political sphere, he had a substantial base. Xinyu supplemented. Louis is not a newly emerged name. He had a tech company in Durda country called Zia Lion International Trading Company. On the surface, it engaged in international shipping. In reality, it dealt in arms. The arms weren't sold to Daxia. The sales channels primarily catered to local militants. Through the arms trade, he connected with at least 7 local militant groups. Isn't Louis? No, Wang Zhang's hiding at the Mengu base without showing his face. If we take action against this company, he might just come out. Xinyu was excited about this suggestion. She thought this was the perfect plan to lure the enemy out. Wang Zhang's fled to Durda, basically abandoning his domestic base, but a man like him can't sleep without one. He must be thinking of making a comeback, starting fresh. Making a comeback requires both people and money. And Zia Lion International is a company with both money and people. Arms trade itself is highly profitable. Through arms trade, connecting various militants also means connecting with people. Would he willingly abandon this company? Targeting this company is like striking at the heart of the poisonous snake that is Wang Zhang's. With Xinyu's proposal, Chang Yi's eyes brightened. In the midst of a chaotic situation, she seemed to find a viable path. Lin Ziasu raised his eyes, staring at Xinyu, seemingly a bit surprised. Xinyu saw his expression and was quite pleased. What? Has it suddenly overturned your stereotype of me? What stereotype? Xinyu proudly puffed out her chest. I know many people say I'm all bust and no brains, and I've always wanted to correct that. It's not that I don't use my brain because it doesn't work, but using my hands is more convenient. Lin Ziasu really wanted to clarify. I never thought you were all bust and no brains. The most crucial thing is, your bust isn't that big. But to avoid unnecessary disputes, he directly got to the point. Have you guys looked into another place, the Sangmu Temple? Xinyu's eyebrows suddenly knitted. Sangmu Temple, does it have anything to do with what we need to do right now? The biggest taboo in an operation is creating additional complications. Our current focus is Wang Zhang's. Chang Yi also slightly frowned. Sangmu Temple is a very mysterious place locally. Even though there are 7 armed forces around it, the temple still maintains a transcendent position, obviously very unusual. But I also don't know how it relates to what we need to do. It maintains a transcendent position because the people in the temple are a mysterious race, and this race is the Litian clan. Chang Yi's heart skipped a beat. Is it Utopia's base camp? Whether it's Utopia's base camp can't be determined right now, but I've found a piece of information. Utopia fugitives within the Daxia territory have almost all entered this temple. Chang Yi said, Daxia is simultaneously being pressured by Utopia and the nine-headed snake, which has indirectly led to these 2 major forces converging in Durda. Is this the crux of your concern here? Lin Ziasu gently shook his head. No, these 2 major forces have not converged. Quite the opposite, they have formed a competition. Competition? Chang Yi felt a stir within. The nine-headed snake and Utopia are the 2 super crime syndicates within the Daxia territory, both targets of suppression by Qianlong. However, within the complex landscape, the enemy of your enemy isn't necessarily your friend. They are in a competitive relationship within Daxia, competing for resources, elites, and territory. In Durda, a place of utmost chaos, it is even more so. He seemed to understand Lin Ziasu's strategy. Lin Ziasu's strategy against enemies includes a very effective tactic, leverage. Does he intend to leverage the power of the temple? Lin Ziasu said, before Wang Zhang's came to Durda, the conflict between Mengu and the temple already existed, with both sides basically at a stalemate. However, after Wang Zhang's arrived in Durda, the balance began to tip. In the past half-month, the temple's outer strongholds have been taken down one after another by Mengu, and there are indications that this is related to the super experts Wang Zhang's brought. He elaborated extensively on this issue. The temple's advantage lies in its individual combat power. It is a base for Litian clan members, almost all of whom are superhuman by birth, capable of regenerating severed limbs, healing wounds, transforming into fierce beasts, moving like the wind and possessing boundless strength, all without needing to cultivate. Meanwhile, Mengu's advantage lies in being an army. The soldiers have powerful weapons. On one side is individual combat power, on the other is powerful weaponry for siege and conquest. These are two completely different power systems, sparking against each other in this chaotic land, yet maintaining a temporary balance. However, Wang Zhong's fleeing from Daxia brought with him a group of super strengths, the upper echelon of the Hydra Daxia district, each with extraordinary combat power. In individual combat, they firmly suppress Li Tian clan members. By supplementing their existing advantage with hot weapons, the balance of war tipped toward Mengu for a time. This is the change. This is the information data he gathered throughout the day. Xinyu's eyes sparkled. I understand what you mean. You're planning to leverage the power of the temple to disrupt Mengu. Lin Zaiyasu smiled. Disrupt, this word is appropriately used. Xinyu was pleased. I like this plan. Lin Zaios, I've started liking you again. Tell me, how do we do it? Lin Zaiyasu smiled lightly. What do you think of the phrase simple and straightforward? Xinyu's eyebrows danced. Simple and straightforward, I love it. How straightforward? Lin Zaiyasu said. Tomorrow, we infiltrate the Mengu military zone. I find Wang Zhong's while you look for a flying vehicle, and at night we'll take off with Wang Zhong's on board. Changyi was stunned. This is your plan. There was a phrase she didn't say she wanted to say. This isn't like you at all in the past. Your plans were meticulously crafted at every stage, interlocking perfectly. So why today, when facing the most complex and dangerous task, do you seem lazy to think it over? We don't have the luxury of time to drag things out. We must go simple and straightforward, Lin Zaiyasu said. Xinyu scratched her head. No time, that's indeed a reason, but this is way too simple and straightforward, isn't it? Sometimes the simpler, the more effective. Xinyu continued scratching her head. But does this have anything remotely to do with your analysis of the temple? Why wouldn't it have a connection? Lin Zaiyasu laughed. It's precisely the word you just mentioned. Disrupt. Disrupt the situation, divert trouble, create chaos, only then can we successfully break through. Xinyu's gaze shifted to Changyi. Sister Chang'e, do you think this plan is reliable? Changyi felt deeply conflicted inside. Little husband, you're making things difficult for me. Infiltrating the military zone, finding someone who's being heavily protected by the other side, and not just finding him but also extracting him. How difficult is this? Such a simple and straightforward idea anyone could think of, but whether it can be executed, even Jing Lei might find it challenging. It needs to be understood that Wang Zhong's, as the general leader of the Hydra Daxia district, is a top-notch expert himself. Moreover, he has 37 men under him. In a land full of danger, everyone's nerves are highly tense, and everyone's combat power can be fully exercised. In such a scenario, how do you plan on snatching someone from the very jaws of a tiger? Unless you can give me a clear action plan that lets me glimpse any sliver of feasibility. Otherwise, even if I see you as my husband, I can't agree with you. Chapter 395. Chapter 395, Middle East Tiger. Her gaze fell on Lin Zaiyasu. Lin Zaiyasu said, sometimes, precisely because no one expects us to be this direct and brutal, we succeed. All right then, this is the first reason, hitting the opponent's cognitive blind spot. Lin Zaiyasu added, before we initiate, we are all invisible people. Once we act, the time left for the enemy to react is no more than 3 minutes. No matter if there are 9-headed snake kings in the military camp, they can't stop us in those 3 minutes. Changyi breathed out lightly. It's indeed possible that there are 9-headed snake kings in the army, or perhaps something even more terrifying exists. Something more terrifying than a king. Xinyu's face turned serious. Lin Zaiyasu squinted his eyes. Like what? Nirvana. There are Nirvana people in the Middle East. Jing Lei has acted twice and hasn't gained the upper hand even once. What Jing Lei can't accomplish, does that mean I definitely can't either? Lin Zaiyasu raised his eyes and looked at her. Changyi's heart stirred instantly. What Jing Lei can't accomplish, is he really unable to? Not at all. The trip to Fusang, even for Jing Lei, couldn't have brought back the purple magic stone so easily. In the battle at Wuxiang Temple, even if Jing Lei had gone, he would have been useless and couldn't have sealed Kun Kang. In confronting Wing Blade, Jing Lei tried 4 times with no success, but with one action you captured Wing Blade. In the dictionary of Qianlong King, what Jing Lei can't accomplish, other kings basically wouldn't even think about, but for him, it had been overturned. What Jing Lei couldn't do, he managed to accomplish at least 3 things. In this current situation, it is indeed extremely challenging, but to say it's more difficult than the aforementioned 3 tasks, that might not be the case. Xinyu looked at one, then the other. With such confidence, I'm a bit confused. Shall I take back my doubt and just agree with little c? All right, I agree too. Let me state, it's not that I think there's nothing wrong with your plan, but at this stage, I honestly can't find a better solution, Chang Yi expressed. The plan was finalized. Xinyu stood up. All right, I'm going next door to rest. You guys can lead the snake into the cave. She got up and left. Lin Ziasu looked at Chang Yi a bit bewildered. Lead the snake into the cave. Is this girl really that clueless? I've explained for a long time, the plan we're executing isn't to lead the snake out of the cave, but to strike directly at the dragon's lair. Has she understood the strategic intent? Just rest, I'll go explain to her again. Chang Yi turned and left, leaving the biggest room for Lin Ziasu. Xinyu's words, not for insiders to understand at all. It's not leading the snake out of the cave. She's talking about leading the snake into the cave. Into the cave. If one could enter, who wouldn't want to? Chang Yi thinks about that every day, but right now, how to go into that cave. Staying in a room, unable to enter the cave. 2 people are like being grilled. Better to squeeze into the next room with Xinyu and finalize all the details for tomorrow's actions. The next day, the operation officially commenced. A car drove toward the east. The east is mountainous, with rising and falling mountain ranges. In this season, the Middle East region is also lush and green. The closer the car got to the east, the more intense the atmosphere became. Because this area belongs to the Mengu. The people in Mengu are all outlaws who kill without blinking. Who in their right mind would drive into their territory? What's more, there's 2 young women. Such beautiful women daring to enter Mengu's lair is truly like lambs entering a tiger's den. By the side of the road, in front of a few bombed-out buildings, some old men with war scars on their faces watch the car pass by, through the window, seeing the graceful figures inside, gently shaking their heads. What are these 2 women thinking? Do you think by entering Mengu, you can make a fortune by sleeping with an officer for a night? It's a place full of wolves and tigers. Even female robots sent in would be blown into smoke. Up ahead is a checkpoint. 3 military vehicles were parked in front of a white building, and the soldiers inside had long been staring at the approaching car. 4 men came to the roadside, each holding guns. Their guns pointed directly at the car. Stop. The voice was extremely authoritative. However, the car did not stop at all. The gas pedal was floored. Passing by them, the speed doubled. The 4 soldiers were simultaneously stunned. Someone actually dared to break through the checkpoint. Courting death. Do you think you can just drive through and be fine, directly crashing into the heart of Mengu, where it is entirely their world? Chase. The 4 soldiers simultaneously jumped into a military vehicle on the roadside. In pursuit. There are 3 people in the car. It seems like there are 2 women among them. Break the man's leg, the 2 women. We 4 will handle them on the roadside. Last time I lasted an hour. This time let's compare, see who lasts longest. At once, the 4 soldiers were filled with adrenaline. Bang! The military vehicle accelerated, overtook the car, and swerved to block its path. The car window slowly rolled down. A fair-skinned Asian man and a breathtakingly beautiful woman. The hearts of the 4 soldiers throbbed. My God, how can there be such a beautiful woman? Could it be delivering goods for the general? Such quality, ordinary soldiers would never have the luck to enjoy it. Who are you? The 4 soldiers simultaneously got out of the vehicle. Submachine guns pointed directly at the fair-skinned man in the car. He, of course, was Lin Ziasu. Lin Ziasu smiled lightly. Don't dirty your clothes. He spoke in Chinese. The 4 soldiers were simultaneously dumbfounded. Crack! Almost at the same moment, the necks of 4 soldiers snapped simultaneously. Behind them, a beautiful woman appeared out of thin air. It was Xinyu. Lin Ziasu changed into a soldier's uniform. His face naturally transformed into that of the squad leader. Even though the man was a Caucasian, Lin's face showed the same skin tone. Only the hair color was different. However, soldiers wear hats, and once the hat was on, he looked exactly like the officer lying on the ground. Chang Yi raised his hand, holding a 3D printed silicone mask. Once worn and the clothes changed, he too transformed from a glamorous beauty into a Caucasian soldier. No different from the Mengu soldiers on the ground, except for being slightly slimmer. Then Xinyu extended her hand and threw the 4 corpses into the deep trench below. After that, a strange light flashed on her body, and she vanished without a trace. The army vehicle sank slightly, indicating the invisible man, had boarded the vehicle. Lin Zaiasu drove the army vehicle onto the road. The entire enemy elimination and transformation process took only 3 minutes. 3 minutes later, they drove the genuine Mengu military vehicle boldly into the Mengu military zone. This is what Lin Zaiasu meant by infiltrating the military zone was not difficult. But entering the military zone is just the beginning. The real task was immensely difficult. At the Mengu's perimeter, there were 3 checkpoints. Lin Zaiasu, speaking fluent Arabic, flashed his credentials and passed through smoothly. Until the inner circle. The inner circle was a massive military camp nestled in the valley, countless buildings, countless military vehicles, even tanks and helicopters. Numerous soldiers ignored the incoming military vehicle because there were simply too many vehicles entering and leaving. The bodies on the perimeter will soon be discovered. We need to act quickly. A thread of sound from Chang Yi whispered into Lin Zaiasu's ear. We can start now, Lin Zaiasu replied with 5 characters. Chang Yi, inside the vehicle, raised his hand, and a box appeared in his palm. The box opened, revealing cicadas, butterflies, and dragonflies. These were the concentrated embodiment of Qianlong's advanced bionics. Dragon Eye activated. The cicadas, butterflies, and dragonflies silently released in the dust stirred by the military vehicle. Once at the perimeter, they immediately flew towards different targets. In just 3 minutes, Chang Yi's Dragon Eye had identified 4 targets. A helicopter hangar, a drone hangar, 2 flying car garages. These were her and Xinyu's objectives. Their aim was to seize a flying car to support Lin Zaiasu at any moment. Qianlong acts decisively, leaving no variables thus. Xinyu, you can proceed. Rest assured, apart from the flying car we need, all other equipment won't lift off. The military vehicle became lighter, indicating Xinyu had left the vehicle. Chang Yi and Lin Zaiasu smiled. Xinyu's greatest strength is her invisibility technique, unobstructed access to various forbidden areas. Installing bombs on flying cars and helicopters posed no technical difficulty for her. The military vehicle stopped. Lin Zaiasu got off the vehicle, heading towards a building in front. Chang Yi took a deep breath, also got off the vehicle, walking towards a building behind. There, located one of the targets, the flying car garage. Lin Zaiasu walked through the military camp, time-space reversal to half a month ago. He saw Wang Zhang's disguised as Louis. Also saw the 37 people behind him. At the same time, saw the person welcoming him at Mengu. This person was Tor. According to Qianlong information, he was the second in command of the Mengu organization. Colonel rank. He evidently had connections with Louis. Their meeting was rather cordial. Afterwards, his itinerary was quite single-tracked, directly entering a red building at the hilltop, no more exits. His subordinates, those 37 people, frequently exited in batches, dressed like Mengu soldiers, went out on missions, while he personally remained inside, never even walking onto the exterior slope. Wang Zhang was still cautious. He knew that under the current circumstances, his primary goal was to minimize his presence, not to arouse any suspicion. Nine-headed snake, Qianlong, and even Mengu's leader, General Ji Pio. Time passed minute by minute. As the sun set, Lin Zaiasu received a message. No text, just an exclamation mark, indicating Chang Yi and Xinyu had completed the first stage of their task. He stood by the window, eyes cast towards a flying car garage. His lips curled into a smile, rising, heading towards the red house. The night deepened. Tonight's sky was covered in dark clouds. In the red house, a middle-aged man held a glass of red wine. Across him sat a beauty. The middle-aged man was Wang Zhang's. The beauty opposite him was his trusted aide Little Huan, and of course, she was also his longtime mistress. According to classified information, Chang Yi has reached Derda, Little Huan said softly. However, after she arrived in Derda, she seemingly vanished into thin air. Wang Zhang was slightly startled. Still no contact with the station location today. Our insider feedback indicates none, Little Juan said. This is not Chang Yi's usual behavior, I worry. I suspect Lin Ziaosu is also here. Wang Zhang smiled. If he's here, that's the best outcome. Faced with the directive issued by Chang Yi, the intention is to have Lin Ziaosu accompany him. I understand this, but what I don't comprehend is, where is the knife to kill Lin Ziaosu? Chapter 396. Chapter 396. Thunder strikes before one can cover their ears. Wang Zhang lazily lay down, placing the wine glass in his hand beside him. His hand gently raised, making a peculiar gesture. This gesture seemed like an 8, but the fingers weren't fully open, resembling more a door. Little Juan's eyes widened sharply. Divine Temple. Wang Zhang's nodded lightly. Divine Temple. Does it really have a knife that can kill him? Lin Su, the wing blade, can't kill him. Even the immortal king fell by his hand. There are few knives in the world that can kill him, Wang Zhang said, but however many there are, the one in the Divine Temple can certainly kill him. Little Juan's expression was complex. The nirvana of the Divine Temple, even Jing Lei was thwarted twice, they can naturally kill him. However, I've always thought this shocking god was our adversary. Because he killed 2 of our top experts, you think he's our mortal enemy? Yes. As long as it's a person, there will be a price. That's one point, Wang Zhang faintly smiled. And the second point, do you think our team of 38 people was truly pure when we went abroad? Little Juan's face changed. The Du family brothers, they were originally people you wanted to eliminate. Wang Zhang sighed softly. If I were still the headquarter, they obviously wouldn't dare to rebel, but I'm no longer the headquarter. Following a down-and-out person requires mental support. You can support, the vast majority of my team can support, but not everyone. Little Juan truly understood. When a person is smooth sailing, those around them can see hope, and loyalty will be high. However, once a person is on the decline, some subordinates will harbor disloyalty. The headquarter could see the disloyalty of the Du family brothers, but he couldn't personally take them out because there weren't many people brought out, and doing so by hand would make others disheartened. In such a situation, the best way is to borrow a knife. He borrowed the nirvana he secretly acquired, currently within the Utopia camp's shocking god. Borrow the enemy's knife to eliminate dissent. This is the headquarter, even in absolute adversity, still possessing super control. Next, I really want to know, where is our way? Little Juan asked. Wang Zhang slowly sat up. Do you know why I planned Dirta early? A wise rabbit has 3 burrows, or rather a retreat. Wang Zhang smiled lightly. A retreat is also a starting point. Starting point. Daxia has been laying out for so many years without reaching the national level. It's a regret. In Dirta, we have the opportunity to subdue the various armed forces, ultimately aiming for the political arena. Little Juan's heart was pounding. Is it feasible? Middle Eastern natives, a disorganized mob who don't even know the door of strategic maneuvering. How can they compete with me? Wang Zhang laughed. Little Juan looked at this man, so down and out, and yet seemingly exuding all his charm, a little intoxicated. Strategic maneuvering. Yes, although from the current big picture, the West's presence is strong, and the East is relatively weak. In terms of strategic maneuvering alone, the West and the East differ. Westerners in nature have a robber mindset, whereas Daxia people, influenced by culture and the military strategies of each era, all seem to be masters of strategy, especially this Superman hidden in the dark for half a lifetime. Laying out in the Middle East, raiding the Middle East, eventually washing it white, and achieving a grand transformation from armed warrior to political bigwig, it's not without precedent. Many people have done it. Little Juan took a light breath. If that day really comes, how will you deal with the headquarter? Headquarter? Haha, Wang Zhang said. Those people are true proponents of interests above all. If I become a country's president, I won't need to think about how to deal with them. They will naturally send people over, begging me to open conditions to deal with them. Little Juan closed her eyes lightly. Her brain was functioning at high speed. She accepted this logic. Never mind that currently, the headquarter wishes they could kill him immediately, severing Qianlong's intent to use him to destroy the Daxia 9-headed snake's division. But if one day, he integrates various armed forces and becomes the president of this country, the wind from the headquarter would immediately change. Would only beg him. There are no perpetual enemies, only perpetual interests. That day is ultimately distant. The immediate priority is the current situation. Little Juan said, have you ever thought that your identity at this moment might already be known to the headquarter? What do you mean, might? If Qianlong knows about it, how could the headquarter not know? Little Juan was slightly shocked. So, the current headquarter experts might have already entered Dirta. This is a war of attrition with close combat. What's meant to come will come sooner or later, Wang Zhang said, and I can just use their heads to intimidate Qianlong, intimidate the headquarter, intimidate various armed forces, and naturally rise amid the chaos in the Middle East. Wang Zhang's transformed into Lewis, entering Dirta in phases. In the first phase, he needed to conceal this identity to avoid setbacks during his travels. However, there's no wall in the world that doesn't let the wind through. His concealment was after all a temporary measure, ultimately bound to be uncovered. On that day, it would be the true beginning of his game with two super forces. This is the key reason he chose the Mengu military camp. In the camp, under the protection of 35 experts, no one could kill him silently. And he can comfortably lay out in the most complex situation in Dirta, as long as he can truly achieve killing gods when gods come, killing Buddhas when Buddhas come. He can smoothly achieve his trio of goals. His sky would then be a cloudless sky. What are the trio of goals? Intimidate Qianlong, intimidate the headquarter, intimidate various armed forces. Outside, the night was deep. On the road outside the courtyard, a figure sped towards them. This person was the expert Xiang Yubin, just sent on a mission with Tor, one of Wang Zhang's confidants. Xiang Yubin's figure flickered, arriving in the courtyard, his face showing a hint of panic. Old Xiang, what happened? A voice came from the tree, low and deep. It's an emergency. I'll report to the boss first. Xiang Yubin stepped onto the stairs, pushed open the door behind him and closed it. In the room, Wang Zhang had already heard the conversation outside. He raised his eyes. What's going on? Xiang Yubin stepped forward. A very urgent matter. Speak. As Wang Zhang's voice fell, Xiang Yubin's hand suddenly rose. When he raised his hand, it was empty. But halfway through, a sword suddenly appeared in his palm. The sword flashed sharply beyond compare, with a light swish, and the head of the beauty beside Wang Zhang's flew off. Wang Zhang's was suddenly shocked. He jumped to his feet. As he stood up, two black sharp blades appeared inexplicably in his palm, and he instantly entered combat mode. In this mode, even if the Qianlong king approached closely, he could still fight. Xiang Yubin's longsword suddenly turned. The sword force shifted from incomparably sharp to as heavy as a mountain. With a thunderous crash, Wang Zhang's two blades shattered simultaneously, his hand tendons broke, and his whole person flew backward, accompanied by an earth-shattering roar. Kill! Xiang Yubin's hand stretched out. The sword in his palm disappeared without a trace, and his hand chopped down onto Wang Zhang's neck, abruptly stopping his roar. He crashed heavily onto the floor. But the sound startled the surroundings. Bang! The door shattered, and three shadows flashed in. They were the three fastest responding masters. However, what met them were three discs. The discs appeared suddenly in the dark, spinning rapidly. The three masters were greatly surprised, unable to avoid them in midair. They could only use weapons to fend off this sudden hidden weapon attack. They were seasoned warriors. Even though the discs were silent and lightning fast, they could accurately block them. Unfortunately, they caught the trajectory of the discs but couldn't block their sharpness. Swoosh! Their blades were directly cut off. The discs swept by, two heads flew skyward, one was cut in half. These discs were not modern high-tech hidden weapons. They were naturally formed special armor, earth-falling beast scales. Xiang Yubin's hand fell, grasping Wang Zhang's on the ground. His figure rose and the window shattered. He jumped directly out of the window. Outside the window was a 100-foot cliff. Seeing he was about to fall onto the jagged rocks below, suddenly a flying car came silently. Its door opened, and the two entered the flying car. At the moment of entering the car, Xiang Yubin's face changed. It turned into Lin Ziasu. Inside the car, two beauties, Cheng Yi and Xinyu. Their eyes simultaneously shone like a long river in autumn. In the Mengu military camp, the Red House alarm went off, and in a control room, Colonel Tor stood up. His face changed dramatically. Air defense camp fire. Boom! Three earth-shattering explosions. Three air defense radar vehicles exploded first. Tor's hair almost stood on end. The air defense weapons with guidance systems had been blown up. leaving only ordinary anti-aircraft guns, which had almost no chance of hitting the fast-moving tiny dot in the sky. Such an insidious person. Helicopters, flying cars all take off, intercept track, shoot down. Colonel Tor commanded, and dozens rushed towards the hangar just before reaching it. Boom! All aircraft almost exploded simultaneously, triggering a chain reaction. Almost in an instant, all manned aircraft in 4 hangars exploded, and the 4 hangars were ablaze. Tor's face turned pale. Activate the tracking device, send the signal to our allies. Every flying car has a tracking device, extremely hidden, usually impossible to find or remove in a short time. The enemy had stolen one of Mengu's flying cars, and as long as the tracker was still there, it was a target. Even if Mengu lacked airstrike capability temporarily, Durda was armed everywhere. How could such a small marked car fly up high? However, when the tracker was activated, the screen showed only snow. Colonel, the enemy is skilled in mechanics and has already removed the tracking device, a major beside him stammered. Colonel Tor stared wide-eyed at the snowy screen, momentarily at a loss for further orders. Another tall building in the military zone. With a swish, a shadow appeared by the window, sharp eyes like an eagle, staring at rising flames 400 meters away. This was a face of about 40 years old, exuding an intimidating chill. What happened? As his voice fell, the door behind him slammed open, and a Mengu army major appeared behind him. Someone broke into that red house a minute ago and kidnapped Lewis. Kidnapped? Alive? The middle-aged man turned sharply. Yes. Damn. The middle-aged man's hand rose, slamming onto the window ledge, leaving a deep palm print on the bricks. Chapter 397. Chapter 397. Alone on the battlefield in a foreign country. A fierce killing intent emanated, and the Mengu army major trembled all over. Even though he was battle-hardened, having taken lives as easily as cutting grass, he felt extreme fear in front of this middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took a deep breath. Lewis himself is considered a top-tier master, and there are over 30 experts on the outskirts of the Red House. How was he taken? The major replied, there was no special scheme, just speed. The opponent raised a hand and killed the woman in front of Lewis, then knocked Lewis down with one move. 3 men on the outside attempted a rescue but were slain instantly by 3 concealed weapons. He took Lewis and jumped out the window, directly into a flying car waiting for them. Their preparation was extraordinarily thorough. The M300 anti-air system had been pre-installed with explosives, and all flying equipment was also rigged with explosives. They disabled the flying car's locator, and it has completely vanished. The middle-aged man's face turned green. We thought we reacted fast by reaching Durda from headquarters in just 2 days and infiltrating the Mengu military camp at lightning speed, yet they are even faster. Sir, judging from such a decisive modus operandi, the people who came must be Qianlong, the major said. The headquarters' worst fear has happened. What should be done? This place is Durda, not Daxia. Even with Qianlong trying to take Lewis away with just a small flying car is not that easy. The middle-aged man said, immediately contact our people, strictly guard the checkpoints, and shoot down any flying car attempting to cross the border. Yes. These 2 were, without surprise, the ones sent by Nine-Headed Snake to execute the silencing plan. They were indeed experts. The exposure of Wang Zhang's identity was due to Lin Xiaosu's detective divine skill. Blue Demon took this information back to Qianlong, and Qianlong immediately conducted verification, which succeeded just 2 days ago. Once verified, Qianlong knew that Lewis was Wang Zhang's. Chang Yi was immediately dispatched to carry out the kidnapping mission. Meanwhile, Nine-Headed Snake headquarters almost simultaneously acquired this intelligence and sent people to Durda to execute the silencing action. Both sides were racing against each other. The assassins of Nine-Headed Snake believed they were the fastest, yet before they devised the best assault plan against Wang Zhang's Red House, Qianlong had already succeeded. Qianlong's plan had no intricacies, just one word, fast. But it must also be acknowledged that with speed comes overwhelming strength. Sometimes, simplicity and brutality are far more effective than meticulous planning. However, it must also be acknowledged, Qianlong's simplicity and brutality, upon closer thought, are not simple at all. The most extraordinary part was the executor's extreme skill, truly unimaginable. To knock down Wang Zhang's in one move, even within the Heavenly King team, should be among the foremost. Who could it be? Jing Lei. This middle-aged man's heart was overshadowed by a terrible figure. But he did not concede. As he said, this place is not Daxia, it is Durda. A flying car could take off from the Mengu military camp, but escaping the border is not so easy. Nine-headed snake had long infiltrated major military camps in Durda, especially the border posts. In the face of Yingyu country's advanced military technology, what count is a small flying car? Even a supersonic jet trying to cross the border is impossible. Once this flying car is shot down, regardless of whether the suspected Jing Lei can escape, Wang Zhang's must die. He absolutely cannot be allowed to reach Qianlong headquarters alive. In the night sky, aboard the flying car, a silver needle in Chang Yi's hand shimmered with a faint green light, and the screen in front of her showed 100% match. She exhaled softly. Perfect match. He is indeed 7 steps. Haha, Xinyu laughed with joy. The impossible mission is perfectly accomplished. Lin Ziasu glanced at her. This is completed. Don't forget, this is Daxia, this is Durda. If the Mengu military camp was a cage, then the Durda border is another cage. So far, we are still in the cage. Don't worry, Sister Chang Yi and I have already discussed the subsequent routes, Xinyu said. Oh, what's the route? Let me explain. Chang Yi took over. We designed 2 routes. The first, detour through the Red Sea where there is a merchant ship belonging to Daxia. We can infiltrate the ship. The second, break through the northwest corner which just experienced conflict and the anti-aircraft system was destroyed, allowing us to enter Yi country. Yi country is a strategic ally with Daxia and we can secure their assistance. Which do you think is more feasible? Neither is feasible, Lin Ziasu stated. The first route, if things change on the sea, there's no room for reaction, violating the fundamental rule of rescuing people. The second route, relying solely on a strategic ally, is risky. Nine-headed snake's infiltration is pervasive. Even if a single leader is compromised, the effort could fail. Chang Yi furrowed her brows. Durda does not border Daxia. We must pass through another country. Lin Ziasu replied. Jeseng country in the northwest is currently undergoing a power transition. The air control is chaotic, making it a suitable route. I'm aware of this. Nine-headed snake is also aware. Hence, the Northwest anti-aircraft systems are Yingyu country's most advanced M505, and with our flying car, it's impossible to fly over. Moreover, indications show that Nine-headed snake's infiltration is most severe in the Northwest Air Defense Force. No matter how advanced the weapons, they are ineffective once sabotaged. Lin Ziasu said, let's not discuss further. Our target is Q-Dai. Q-Dai, stationed with the Eagle-type elite Desert Eagle troops, are you sure? Chang Yi's heart raced. I'll do the driving. Xinyu felt a bit indignant. Do you not trust my driving skills? However, she wasn't stupid either. She realized she couldn't possibly fly across a military air defense zone in this situation, so she gave way. Lin Ziasu entered the cockpit, and for a brief moment the flying car's speed surged. Full speed mode. As the speed increased, the 2 women exchanged glances. This place was merely 300 kilometers away from the Kyudai Border Defense Force, and with full speed ahead, they would soon enter the Air Defense Identification Zone. If the opponent launches missiles, what chance does the flying car have? This guy's courage was too big, wasn't it? How could it be that on this trip to the Middle East, he, known as the brilliant strategist at Qianlong headquarters, seemed to have completely lost his strategizing instincts? 20 minutes later, the flying car had flown 250 kilometers at full speed. The Air Defense Identification Zone was just within reach. Suddenly, Lin Ziasu pressed down, and the flying car plummeted sharply. In this drop, it was almost about to hit the ground, but the flying car hovered within just 3 feet off the ground, flying forward close to the highway. Chang Yi's heart rate spiked. Disguising as a car, is this even possible? Lin Ziasu smiled. Even the Air Defense Identification Zone has blind spots. As long as you're close enough to the ground, they'll assume it's a car. This is only theoretical, Chang Yi said. Flying a car close to the ground is extremely dangerous. Don't worry, my driving skills were honed with 101. The 2 women exchanged glances, thinking his statement made it sound as if someone else didn't hone their skills with 101. The terrain was extremely complicated, with numerous curves and very narrow roads, making it difficult to control the flying car as if it were an actual car without grip or traction. How could one precisely maneuver without letting the flying car veer off the road? Xinyu was so tense she held her breath. fearing that any misstep on her part might steer the flying car off course. However, Lin Zaiasu handled it effortlessly, spiraling up the mountain roads. From an aerial perspective, anyone would have taken it for a car. No one would suspect it was a flying car. The border post was now at hand. Xinyu finally exhaled. I have to admit, Lin Zaios is not only bold in matters of love but also has incredible driving skills. Changyi glanced up, feeling slightly aggravated in her teeth. This girl was starting to let loose. No, indulge herself. Xinyu added, after reaching the post, what then? Are we going to reenact the spectacular scenes of the Mengu army? She spoke with excitement. Because the major explosion just now in the Mengu army was her masterpiece. Most people would think it impossible to plant a bomb in such a heavily guarded military zone, akin to a fool's dream. Yet with her invisibility technique, she could treat any guarded area like an open garden gate. Lin Zaiasu shook his head slightly. Not us, just me. The two women gasped in shock. Lin Zaiasu said, I'll get off and cause some chaos. The moment their air defense system is destroyed, you two must leave at full speed. There can't be any delays on your way. Understand that once things get rowdy here, the Desert Eagle's elite forces will send out a large number of aircraft. We're counting on the time difference. You must ensure to cross all of Jeseng country at full speed, reaching beyond Daxia's southwest post before the enemy catches up. What about you? What will happen to you? Chang Yi's heart was pounding. She weighed the plan. While the chances of success were high, Lin Zaiasu, who'd get off to cause chaos, would certainly not make it back onto the flying car. What was this? A three-person operation, abandoning one on a foreign battleground. Lin Zaiasu laughed. What? Worried I can't return to our country? Chang Yi shook her head. She was probably the one who knew Lin Zaiasu the best. With his exceptional combat value, few could pose a threat to him. Coupled with his transformation technique, rivaling that of Blue Demon and battlefield intelligence matching Bai Shui's, the more chaotic the place, the more he could weave his magic. How could he not return? It was just that she found it difficult to overcome her inner hurdle. He went all out to ensure her mission's completion, yet she would leave him on a foreign battlefield. Xinyu, you take the wheel. Lin Zaiasu stood up, leaving the cockpit. The flying car hovered above the road below the post, merely 5 inches off the ground. Xinyu slowly stood up. Lin Zaios, if you stay behind, you might not come back. I must say something to you. Lin Zaiasu rolled his eyes, wondering what she meant by not coming back. Could she speak more carefully? Xinyu said, looking back on your life, although you were mostly infuriating, sometimes you did notable things like this mission, helping me reclaim the top spot on the gold medal trial list, surpassing your childhood friend Li Diandian. This shows your standing isn't biased, that you haven't confused personal and professional relationships. I, Xinyu, make distinctions between love and hate. Previously, you infuriated me, but as of now, you're off my list of grudges. Chang Yi grit her teeth. She dearly wanted to have a word with her. First of all, reviewing someone's life like this, the way she was talking, as if it were a funeral for her young husband. Lin Zaiasu rolled his eyes, surpassing my childhood friend to reclaim the top spot during the trial period. Exactly, Xinyu replied. I typically don't like to rain on others' parades, but with you I must. Not doing so would not serve justice. Lin Zaiasu said, Tell me, Xinyu, you didn't have a directive from Qianlong for this mission, did you? Chapter 398. Chapter 398, Framing and Scapegoating. In the face of the national situation, what orders do you need? Take the initiative, it's a higher realm. Let's not talk about the realm first, let's talk about the rules that you feel so deeply about. Lin Zaiasu said, acting without orders according to Article 116, Section 2 of the Qianlong Regulations, results in deductions, no points. Right. Xinyu screamed, completely stunned. My God, familiar scene, familiar regulations, familiar hitting a gun muzzle. She was focused on achieving great merit, entering the Middle East, doing such explosive things and almost succeeding, got a bit carried away, and suddenly Lin Zaiasu pointed it out. Yes, little C pointed it out right. Qianlong points are firstly established on the basis of formal tasks. The task itself was carried out illegally. Not getting deductions would already be lucky, and you still want points. Oh shit. What am I? For a moment she doubted life. Xinyu, looking at your life, you've always clashed with the rules. I sympathize with you. Lin Zaiasu looked at her sympathetically. Lin Zaios, I fuck your 8 fathers, Xinyu exploded. Lin Zaiasu slipped away, disappeared from the speeding car, his voice like flowing water, drilling into the ears of the two ladies. Look closely. The signal is when the enemy's head rises to the sky. When the head flies, you fly. At the border outpost, although there was a lot of high-tech, there was still manpower. Two sentries stared wide-eyed at the dark jungle ahead. They seemed to sense some movement. Maybe it's a wild beast. Just as they came to this conclusion, a sudden swoosh of wind rose behind them. Shush. The two sentries felt a chill on their necks and lost consciousness. In the next instant, a black shadow shot through the air. Bang! The iron gate flew off. The next moment, Lin Zaiasu appeared in the basement. In front of him were countless electrical wires, tangled and complex. He raised his hand, the heavenly Tao primordial spirit covering the walls, precisely capturing a line. This line was the power supply line for the precision-guided system M505. More than 10 soldiers rushed in from behind, guns pointed directly at the back of Lin Zaiasu's head. Without turning his head, 3 earthfall beast scales flew from behind his head. More than 10 soldiers simultaneously found their bodies headless. His hand moved, a long sword in hand. Bang! Li Ren's swordsmanship, severing a motion. The reinforced concrete in front of him shattered instantly, revealing the deeply hidden security line inside. An earthfall beast scale shot out, sparks flying, the line severed. Once the power line was cut, no matter how complex the security control of the system was, whether it had multiple uninterruptible power supplies, all became scrap metal. Lin Zaiasu flashed out, hand rising. Another earthfall beast scale shot skyward. A soldier at the highest post had his head fly off, tumbling down. Head rising to heaven. This was the signal. Go full speed, Chang Yi ordered. The speeding car shot into the night sky. The air defense system already cut off. Even supersonic jets couldn't fly over Q-Dai border defense, and directly broke through. In an instant, the speeding car sped 10 miles through the sky, rushing into Jeseng country. Jeseng country, a true country of turmoil, had no air control, meaning any aircraft could fly unimpeded in the sky. Both Chang Yi and Xinyu could, naturally. Dirta's elite troops' cars could too. In just 3 minutes, countless cars broke through the sky, chasing into Jeseng country's territory. However, in just 3 minutes, the flying cars of Chang Yi and Xinyu had flown over 50 miles away. Indications showed there was no way to catch up. However, in a helicopter, a commander's face was ashen. They are Qianlong. They will certainly return to Daxia full speed, head directly for Daxia's border. The speed of the armed helicopter, slightly faster than the speeding car, but when they reached the southwest post of Daxia, Chang Yi and Xinyu's car had already completed verification, flying into Daxia's territory. Fire! The commander on the helicopter, both urgent and angry, gave the order. 2 missiles shot toward the car. On the outpost, a red flash laser interception. Missiles exploded in midair. Next moment, in the pilot's earphones came a stern voice, "Fire!" A missile came flying. With a boom, helicopter exploded midair. This was the might of Daxia's military. You wield a primitive stick, I also use a stick. You use a knife, I use a knife. You use bullets, I also use bullets. You dare fire missiles. Sorry, my missiles are a generation ahead of yours. Just one missile, the armed helicopter disintegrated. Behind this fireball, more than 10 flying cars chased over, but facing this southwestern stronghold, none dared to step an inch beyond the threshold. Q-Dai post, Lin Zaiasu faced dozens of cold guns. The officer gave an order, bullets rain like rain. However, Lin Zaiasu, clearly in front of them, his figure suddenly disappeared into thin air. The next moment, chaos ensued in the ranks, blood and flesh flying everywhere. 50 to 60 soldiers, unable to see the enemy's face at all, were harvested in an incredible manner soon, falling one row after another. Shush! An earthfall beast scale streaked across the sky. The head of the outpost commander flew high. Lin Zaiasu stepped over the corpse-strewn outpost, entering the main control room. The equipment in front and the guided system had 2 sets of power systems. The guided system line damaged, but did not affect the living electricity of the main control room and the surveillance electricity. The monitoring device in front clearly recorded his scenes of great slaughter. Lin Zaiasu sat in front of the control panel. Flicking his fingers, streams of code emerged. This was the central control password. He obtained it through time-space reversal from the operator, directly taking over the control panel. Entering the command station, A pair of glasses appeared on his nose, embed. At an order, the monitor in front of him rippled like waves, scene transitions. There was still slaughter, still flesh flying, but the attackers were no longer Lin Zaiasu, but a group of extremely peculiar special races. This group of races could freely transform their limbs into blades and swords, hunting in the darkness and killing over 70 people at the outpost. After completing all this, there were already countless flying cars in the sky. Lin Zaiasu smiled faintly and exited the control room. A breeze blew by, and he vanished into the night. If Chang Yi and Xinyu were by his side, they would definitely think Lin was being redundant. Their mission was already completed. Was there still a need for disguise? However, they were not Lin Zaiasu. They also did not understand the current Lin Zaiasu. Entering the Middle East, entering Derda, the mission to capture Wang Zhang's was already accomplished, but Lin Zaiasu's own mission was just beginning. What mission did he have? In fact, no one assigned him a task. It's just that a family professor gave him a kind reminder. This family professor was Lin Weiyang. Back at Bai Shan residence as he was leaving, Lin Weiyang said two things. The first was to be careful of a person with two shadows. The second was, beware of a place. The person with two shadows was the shadowy Heaven King. Less than half a month after Lin Weiyang's warning, he bumped into the shadowy Heaven King in Jiangcheng. The shadowy Heaven King had two shadows. If Lin Zaiasu hadn't just executed an incredible grand strategy, merely relying on detective skills, he couldn't have found the shadowy Heaven King. The shadowy Heaven King genuinely had the ability to cause great trouble for Lin Zaiasu. The fact that the shadowy Heaven King didn't materially create trouble for him doesn't mean Lin Weiyang was wrong. It only means he wasn't an immortal and hadn't anticipated Lin Zaiasu would have a profoundly mysterious move of borrowing flowers to offer Buddha, or called hitting the bull from a distance. The first warning was accurate. Lin Zaiasu had to pay attention to the second warning, which was the place Lin Weiyang told him. This place was Sangmu Temple. Lin Weiyang's original words were, "If one day you enter the Middle East, pay attention to a place, Sangmu Temple. No matter how many knives in this world can kill you, the most dangerous one must come from Sangmu Temple." In Lin Weiyang's dictionary, the shadowy Heaven King only deserved Lin Zaiasu's caution, while Sangmu Temple had a sword to kill him. The weight who is lighter or heavier is evident. Lin Zaiasu didn't have a personal inclination to wait to get stabbed. He wanted to see this sword. Blindly barging into Sangmu Temple, that would be foolish because he knew clearly that it was all utopians there. There's no ordinary people in Utopia. The ordinary Li Tian clan members pose deadly dangers, let alone the Utopia headquarters crowned with the name of the Divine Temple. So he wanted to borrow some strength. This time he borrowed from the Mengu. The Mengu at this moment. It was just over an hour since the incident at the Red House. Mengu's leader, General Ji Peng, listening to Colonel Tor and more than 20 officers babbling, felt his heart, which hadn't wildly throbbed for a long time, beating vigorously. As the leader of Mengu, controlling 30,000 elite soldiers, he was no fool. Louis entering the Mengu was actually always under his control. He was very aware of the kind of person Louis was, someone intelligent and resourceful, with considerably high personal skills. Such a person was who he needed. The 30-plus people under Louis were also who he needed. Otherwise, do you think he would watch an unknown person stay in his camp long-term? However, tonight, one person struck, easily took Louis, killed 4 masters. The whole process was incredibly fast, nearly in the blink of an eye. Who was it exactly? Who had such abilities? Was it Qianlong Thunder? 3 scales were left at the scene. These scales are earth-falling beast scale. An elder said in a deep voice, could it truly be the work of Divine Temple experts? Earthfall beast. Only the Divine Temple had them under the heavens. Using earth-falling beast scale as a concealed weapon to kill, indestructible, was precisely the way of Divine Temple experts. More crucially, the unparalleled expert that puzzled General Ji Peng just happened to be available at the Divine Temple. However, only relying on these 3 scales to identify the perpetrator, as from the Divine Temple, was clearly insufficient evidence. Just at this moment, a message came in from the Northwest Military Inner Line. Just now, the flying car that hijacked Louis flew over Q Dai Outpost. Outpost 73 people were killed. Video shows the perpetrator was of the Li Tian clan. General Jipeng stood up, his face changed drastically. Just now, his strategist analyzed this affair might be the work of the Divine Temple, but he didn't believe it. One could think with one's toes, the primary suspect should be Qianlong. How could it possibly be the Divine Temple? However, now there was strong evidence. Surveillance records showed those who swept the Q Dai outpost and M5, a 5 air defense system, were of the Li Tian clan. Sangmu Temple Li Tian clan, is it possible? General Jipeng's face was as calm as water. What is their motive? Tor stepped forward. There truly is a motive. Utopia and Nine-Headed Snake are doing the same thing in Daxia, targeting elites on various lines, trying hard to assimilate them. Competitors are enemies. Once Lewis falls into Qianlong's hands, Nine-Headed Snake within Daxia will face doom, so the Divine Temple collaborating with Qianlong to seize Lewis is beneficial. Everyone present was utterly confused. They knew of Utopia and Nine-Headed Snakes hovering in the skies over Daxia, competing. One side suffering a fatal disaster, the other side reaping the fisherman's benefits. They understood that too. Standing from Utopia's perspective, it was hoping for Nine-Headed Snake's doom, so if there was any action that could strike Nine-Headed Snake critically, Utopia lending a hand from the side was also acceptable. But what did this have to do with Lewis? Only General Jipeng slowly raised his gaze. Colonel Tor, now you won't hide Lewis's true identity anymore. Chapter 399. Chapter 399. Left Envoy of the Divine Temple. Tor's heart skipped a beat. General, I didn't mean to hide it from you. It's just that his identity is of great importance, and I didn't want to reveal it too early. Jipeng waved his hand sharply. It's not that you didn't mean to hide it from me. It's that you simply can't hide it from me. I have long known he's the former general leader 7 steps of the Nine-Headed Snake in the Daxia district. The crowd erupted in an uproar. A chill ran down Tor's back. Jipeng said, I just want to remind you that within Mengu, you can fully showcase your talents and recruit talents from all sides, but never be too clever. Yes. Jipeng continued, the Divine Temple has a motive to be involved, but we can't decide the nature of this matter based solely on 1 or 2 pieces of evidence. Tomorrow, you will take a few people to the temple and find out everything. Yes, Tor bowed to accept the order. Jipeng slowly stood up and went back to his room. Everyone stood up in unison and respectfully saw him off. The same night, later in the night, Sangmu Temple, the ancient temple, stood atop the mountain peak. In the daytime, the temple seemed particularly sacred. However, at night, it appeared somewhat sinister. In the old temple, in a room near an ancient tree, the coolness of the day turned into the chill of the night. By the window, under the slightly dim lamplight, 2 people were playing a game of chess. On the left, a middle-aged man in white was playing white. On the right, a middle-aged man in black was playing black. On the board, the white stones had the advantage. The man in black held a chess piece and pondered for a long time. Then suddenly, he raised his gaze and stared outside the window. The 2 men were both of Asian descent. Outside the window, as the wind slightly stirred, an elder seemed to appear out of nowhere, bowing behind the man in white. Left Envoy, something serious has happened. The man in white slightly furrowed his brows. Serious? Yes. News just arrived. Lewis from the Mengu army was abducted. They have already crossed the border and returned to Daxia country. The left envoy trembled slightly. Qianlong acted, and with a lightning strike succeeded directly. Yes. The Qianlong rallied no suspicion. At least our infiltrated point had no contact with anyone from the headquarters. They infiltrated the military camp. The Mengu army knew nothing until the very last moment. You foresaw it, left envoy. Indeed so. This person disguised as Lewis's subordinate approached Lewis, took him down with one move, then broke through the window with an outside vehicle coordinating. The entire process wasted not a single second. The left envoy's eyes sparkled, and then they blasted all the air defense systems, destroyed the aircraft, cut off tracking, then broke through to the northwest. The northwest is where Derta's most elite Desert Eagle is stationed, equipped with the most advanced M505 air defense system. How did they evade the system's lock? The elder said, that's the most baffling part within the Desert Eagle army. Our insiders report that surveillance footage shows our Li Tian clan members attack the outpost, cutting off the air defense system lines, killing everyone at the outpost, and leaving the scene with earth falling beast scale, which was used to kill. The face of the man in black opposite the left envoy changed dramatically. A setup. It's a setup 100%, the elder said. I just met with the elder. The elder did not send out this team, nor did we. It's evidently a setup. How is Mengu reacting? The man in black asked. Mengu sent a message. People will come tomorrow to investigate this matter, the elder said. I ventured to see you in the middle of the night, left envoy, to ask how to deal with this tomorrow. The man in black said, truth cannot be hidden, lies will not stand. Setups always leave traces. Even if they maliciously alter the video, it can be restored. Do we really fear their investigation? The left envoy gently raised his hand. The man in black's voice abruptly stopped. The elder bowed even lower. The left envoy slowly stood, walked to the window, breaking Qianlong convention, acting without alerting Qianlong's local base. Disguised and infiltrated, Mengu knew nothing, with one swift move striking like lightning, precise calculations leaving no flaws, even coordinating a setup afterward, inciting conflicts between two major forces. Who do you think he is? Jinglei, the elder uttered two words. No, it's not Jinglei. This matter completely does not match Jinglei's style, the left envoy said. In this world there is only one person who matches. Lin Zaiasu, he has arrived. Lin Zaiasu, the man in black and the elder were both shocked. Left envoy, why are you so sure it must be Lin Zaiasu? The left envoy smiled lightly. Disguise technique, detailed in last year's classified document H312. Martial arts cultivation, detailed in classified documents B654, 412, and this year's 189. The habit of framing, detailed in last year's classified document A952 and this year's 514. The earth-falling beast scale, detailed in last year's classified document E387. Combined with the fact that the mission was executed by Qianlong and Chang Yi, it must be Lin Zaiasu. There is no other possibility. The elder raised his eyes and stared at the archive room behind him, his mind churning with waves. All sorts of classified documents, all kinds of data, millions of them. The left envoy remembered them all, and could precisely correlate them. Once aware of something, could find the answer in the data immediately. No wonder he became the left envoy at such a young age. The eyes of the man in black suddenly lifted. Striking with one move, a lightning flash, achieving success and retreating, not trapped in the mud, does indeed fit his style, this kid. Achieving success and retreating. Who says he retreated? The left envoy's eyes shot over, his gaze shimmering with a very unique expression. The left envoy, means that he hasn't withdrawn. Of course he hasn't withdrawn. Otherwise, why would he set up a scheme to frame someone? A scheme to frame, as a measure to cover up the crime, is also quite common. The man in black hesitated. The left envoy smiled faintly. A person who fears trouble would use framing to muddy the waters after committing a crime, using it as a way to cover up and avoid drawing trouble to themselves. But that's a person who fears trouble. Qing Ru, tell me, is Lin Zaiasu a person who fears trouble? The man in black named Qing Ru gently shook his head. He clearly is not. The left envoy nodded slightly. So, this framing is definitely not an aftercare measure. It's merely his formal entry into the game, a signal to stir the waters in the Middle East. Not an aftercare. Not the end, just the beginning. The old man slowly straightened his back. This scheme to frame, seeming clever, is actually quite forced. If he hopes to incite a battle between us and Mengu through this level of framing, that would be too naive. The left envoy said, his planning is whimsical. Even a plan that looks childish, if it's crafted by him, there must be some brilliant use. For tomorrow's meeting, set up an open area and let shocking God be present. The old man was shocked. The left envoy expects a military incident at tomorrow's meeting. The left envoy replied lightly. Last year, F-type classified document number 457 recorded the Zhezuo Island incident in Fusing country. You might want to take a look. The Zhezuo Island incident, which had nothing to do with them, was classified as F-type, indicating it was unimportant, but even this was noticed by the left envoy. The left envoy weaves connections everywhere, playing a strategic game in the Middle East. Any type of event, he seems able to keep an eye on it. This, perhaps, is the difference between people. The old man entered the document room at the back and reviewed F-type classified document number 457. His eyes lit up, disguising oneself as someone from the opposing camp, using the opportunity of a meeting to incite a melee between both sides, further tearing apart the conflict. It's truly a brilliant move. But alas, he is ultimately too young to have anticipated that there is also a left envoy in the temple. The man in black, Qing also had a bright shine in his eyes. If he really repeats his old trick, then tomorrow's meeting will be the true death trap for him. The left envoy smiled slightly. Ordinarily, he wouldn't take such a risk, but being in the Middle East, he essentially has no cards to play. He might indeed be relying on his superior martial and intellectual prowess to take a risky chance. The next day, 7 military vehicles sped through the valley, through the town full of gray and green, heading to the southwest. The southwest was known as Dusha Town. In the chaos of the Middle East, everywhere was filled with gunfire, and ordinary people planting fields could dig up landmines at any moment. People with missing arms and legs were seen everywhere, but in Dusha Town, it was relatively peaceful. Because there was a temple there. A temple, not an object of faith for the major Middle Eastern sects. The church is what it is. However, in this realm, it's a bit different. The temple truly provides some form of safety to the residents. Because everyone in the temple is exceptional, with them living here, the major armed groups dare not easily enter, making it relatively safe. Of course, only relatively. Seeing the 7 military vehicles speed by, fear still flickered in the eyes of the people. A few men pulled their wives and quickly returned to their so-called rooms that couldn't keep out the wind or rain. Only one man was a bit different. He looked thoughtfully at the dust raised by the passing military vehicles. Judging by appearance alone, he was no different from the locals' weathered face, grimy skin, a tattered headscarf tied on his head. He was Lin Zaiasu. When in Rome, he adapted. The pieces on the chessboard, he had laid them down. No one knew where the piece he placed on the board was aimed, not even himself, because everything changes in an instant. The most adept wisdom always changes with the times, changes with the situation. 7 military vehicles, Mengu Army second-in-command Tor led them. Excellent. He's the one. The military vehicles zoomed down the main road, stirring up dust. As the military vehicles sped through the front valley, countless people on either side looked up. This valley was the settlement area for the Li Tian clan. There were as many as 1,000 people. Outside, Li Tian clan members were very few, but in this valley, they were the masters. Seeing the military vehicles coming, they weren't panicking either. A few young men even flipped over like falling leaves to land softly on tall rocks, using cold eyes to stare at the high-ranking officers in the Mengu military vehicles. That kind of gaze gave great pressure to those in the military vehicles. In the second military vehicle, Colonel Tor's face was extremely serious. Next to him, a lieutenant colonel whispered a sentence, "Colonel, if they really." "Don't worry," Tor interrupted him. "The missiles are already activated, the target locked. Seeing that mixed in with the Mengu troops, they'd certainly not dare to act rashly." Chapter 400, The Strength of Nirvana. This is the bargaining chip on our side during the armed forces negotiation. In this chaotic land, fighting is a norm, and so is negotiating. Fighting while negotiating, both are norms. Without a solid trump card, who dares to march into the temple control zone infested with extraterrestrial creatures? Inside the Mengu army, there are insiders for the temple. Actually, in all major armies, the insertion of insiders is unavoidable. The 7 military vehicles and 31 people coming to the temple for negotiation, the Mengu army has its trump card, which is the missiles standing ready. Targets locked. If you dare to flip the table and kill these 31 people, the missiles will immediately launch, providing a wave of firepower coverage. There were no anomalies along the way. The military vehicles sped toward the temple. Outside the temple are ancient bluestone steps. The steps are modeled, but no one dares to tread lightly upon them. Because this temple is the power center of the Sangmu Temple. The 7 elders, the left and right envoys, the Nirvana, the top experts of the Li Tian clan are all here. The vehicles stopped. Tor leads the 31 men walk through a dark corridor ahead. Up ahead is the temple's arena. On the opposite side, a row of white garments. The great elder leads 7 others, standing in the center of the open area, smiling as they welcome the 31 senior officers of the Mengu army. No one noticed that dim passageway. They all walked past. In the interlayer of the dim passage, the white-clothed left envoy slightly furrowed his brow, a chess piece pinched between his fingers, hesitating to place it. Opposite him, the same black-clothed Qing. Qingru said, Master Left Envoy, have you found anything? The Left Envoy said, among these 31 people, there is no Lin Zaiasu. Qingru said, according to the records, Lin Zaiasu's transformation technique is almost on par with the hidden dragon blue demon. He did not dare to directly question the Left Envoy's judgment, but indirectly expressed his opinion that if Lin Zaiasu's transformation technique is truly equivalent to the blue demon, no one would be able to tell if he had infiltrated the team. The Left Envoy said, speaking solely of transformation technique, his disguise is undetectable, but he is a cultivator, and these 31 people are all genetic people. This is seeing the essence through the phenomena. Lin Zaiasu is a cultivator. He is not a genetic person. As for those who just passed by, regardless of appearance, each is a genetic person. So Lin Zaiasu would not be among them. Qingru remarked, Left Envoy can see through the core with a glance truly extraordinary. The Left Envoy showed not a trace of pride on his face, his gaze fixed on the chess piece in his hand. He has not taken the crucial step that worked wonders before, which raises a question. Where will he place his next move? Theoretically, a person's behavior has inertia. Especially a masterpiece, it is always used consciously or unconsciously. When Lin Zaiasu was on Zhezuo Island, facing the Black Dragon Society and the Royal Research Institute, it was initially just some minor conflicts, but he forcibly magnified the conflicts, and in the chaos seized the purple magic stone. Today, facing the Mengu army and the temple, his situation is virtually identical to before. The initial stage is also extremely similar. However, he astonishingly changed the most crucial move. Eminent as the Left Envoy, he also fell into bewilderment. Meanwhile, at the temple arena, the two parties took their seats. The negotiation mode activated. The overall atmosphere is harmonious. The Colonel David, beside Tor, first provoked, directly accusing the temple of dispatching experts to abduct Mengu guests and destroy the Mengu army's air defense system and nearly all aerial vehicles, an act that violates their consensus. The temple categorically denied. David presented evidence. Evidence 1, Earthfall Beast scales. Evidence 2, surveillance footage from the border outpost. The Great Elder smiled gently. Earthfall Beast scales are scales of the Earthfall Beast, commonly used by our clan, with many scales left behind in various places. Using Earthfall Beast scales as evidence to prove that the person who killed in the Mengu military camp is of our clan is too far-fetched. The second elder chimed in. As for the outpost surveillance, while it looks like overwhelming evidence, in modern society it is virtually nothing. If everyone likes to argue using surveillance, why don't you look at a projection just made by our clan's genius? He lightly raised his hand, and a projection appeared in the air. The characters in the projection were clearly the 31 soldiers from the 7 military vehicles in front of them, with identical appearances and clothing, entering the temple jurisdiction area by car, shooting and killing countless ordinary civilians. The scene was a bloodbath. The 31 men were left staring at each other. They knew this was not true, because when they entered the temple control zone today, they absolutely did not shoot anyone. However, the second elder just said, this was something produced by a genius of the Li Tian clan. He did not intend to frame these 31 people. He was just stating a fact that in modern society, surveillance footage can actually be fabricated, meaning the surveillance from the Q-Dai outpost is entirely fake. Beside Tor, another colonel spoke, there's also a third point. The great elder, smiling, looked at him. Colonel, please proceed. This colonel said, Lewis was protected by over 30 genetic masters. He himself is also a super expert, comparable to the Qianlong King. Besides the legend-level Nirvana in the temple, who in the world can instantly subdue him and extricate him from the military camp amidst thousands of troops? This, too, is seeing the essence through the phenomena. Unaffected by Earthfall Beast scales and video footage, directly facing the core issue, combat strength. How many people in the world can subdue an awakener of Heavenly King level in one move? For most people, perhaps only a few names come to mind. Among them, the closest would be the Nirvana from the temple of legendary level. Behind the great elder, suddenly a person stood up. This person looked very ordinary, and beforehand, no one had really noticed him. However, the moment he stood up, his whole presence changed drastically. The white robe couldn't conceal his inner and outer sharpness. His eyes shimmered with a silver light. Yes, a very eerie silver light. His skin seemed to suddenly crack open with countless fine lines, each emitting a silver glow. He suddenly raised his hand. With a slap, he struck the table in front of him. A light hum echoed. The 10-meter-long table before them was completely destroyed, shattered into pieces. Everything on the table, including the teapots, was turned to dust. As this incredible scene unfolded, Tor trembled all over and abruptly stepped back. With a swoosh, the two negotiating teams instantly separated by 3 meters. Almost everyone already had their fingers on a gun or a knife. The man in the white robe seemed oblivious, smiling coldly. The person Colonel mentioned is probably me. You might want to compare the characteristics of the person who acted in your Mengu army with mine to see if they are the same. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Such a shocking strike, with such unthinkable destructive effects, wasn't an attack at all but a demonstration of his attack traits. This person was the temple's nirvana, known as the super-powerful shocking god. Someone behind Tor stood up straight, then let's verify it. The voice was still in the air when he suddenly became 3 figures. With a hiss, the 3 shadows merged into one, and the blade reached shocking god's throat. Snap! The blade broke. Bang! The figure flew high. Shocking god gently brushed his throat, looking so elegant and carefree. The genetic master who had just attacked him landed 10 meters away, collapsing softly upon landing. Bang! Gunshots. The 2 shots came from Tor's side, fired by the colonel. The bullet hit directly at Shocking God's forehead. Tor's eyes widened in shock. He was genetic, his vision was exceptional, and he clearly saw that as the bullets reached Shocking God's forehead, it turned silver-white. The bullets were flattened against it, using his body to resist bullets, using his body to withstand blades. With a single strike, a peculiar sense of vibration shattered the 10-meter-long table and everything on it into pieces. The 3 attacks clearly verified Shocking God's traits. This person absolutely couldn't be the one who entered the Red House and took away Louis Wang Zhang's. His attack traits were completely different from that person's. That person relied on speed with unmatched quick reaction, precise calculations, leaving no gaps. If it were Shocking God, these were unnecessary. He could strut into the camp, go where he wanted, do what he wanted. The Great Elder gently raised his hand. Shocking God, sit down. Shocking God smiled faintly and sat behind the Great Elder. At this moment, the atmosphere of the negotiation changed completely. The temple held the absolute upper hand. Debunking the opponent's false accusations was one, showcasing strength was another. Shocking God's strike clearly carried a strong intent to demonstrate, as the temple wanted to use this shocking method to tell all the armed forces that the power of the temple is not something human strength can oppose. All the warlords stayed in line. Tor felt a sense of powerlessness, the helplessness when facing a gap in strength. The Great Elder smiled slightly. Actually, I know who took Louis away. Who is it? An extraneous member of Daxia country's Qianlong, named Linzai Asu. Linzai Asu, Tor frowned deeply. I know this person, but can he really achieve this level of combat strength? Time can change a person, the Great Elder said. At this time last year, he was just a young man with decent detective skills, and by last year in the latter half, he wasn't enough to confront the Heavenly King. However, now he already has the lives of 2 Hydra Snake Kings under his belt, including the so-called Immortal King, the Shadowy Heaven King. By the way, just recently, he personally took down an artifact of the ancient civilization, Wing Blade. Compared to these achievements, abducting a person inside your Mengu army is not a difficult task. Linzai Asu, Tor bit down slowly, dare to provoke the Mengu army, he's courting death. If you truly want him dead, there's an opportunity right now, the Great Elder smiled. It just depends on whether you dare to do it. What does the Great Elder want to do? Tor asked. Linzai Asu is a person with some nationalistic beliefs. If he knew of a bloodshed occurring at Daxia country's embassy, if Daxia merchants faced massive issues, if the Qianlong's outpost was completely destroyed, he would definitely reveal himself from the shadows and step into the forefront. He's still in Durda. Tor's eyes gleamed sharply. Yes. If he appears, will this person make a move? Tor pointed to Shocking God. Chapter 401. Chapter 401. The Strategy of Annihilation. The Great Elder smiled and said, Do not forget, the branch of the Li Tian clan in Daxia's central part was also destroyed by him. Our enmity with him is no less than that of the Mengu army. Tor cast his gaze at the 30 people behind him. The 30 people looked at each other. 3 seconds later, someone nodded, and 10 seconds later, everyone nodded. Pleasure working with you. The great elder slowly stood up. Tor slowly reached out and gently shook hands with the great elder. Then 31 people turned around and left the divine temple. The great elder raised his gaze and watched these people leave. The storm deliberately stirred up by Lin Zaiasu thus dissipated into nothingness. This was not the great elder's idea, it was the left envoy's scheme. If Lin Zaiasu had a game of strategy with this left envoy he never met, then, theoretically, the left envoy won the first round completely. Why? Because the conflict Lin Zaiasu wanted to ignite did not ignite. Instead, it backfired on him. Within Durda, there are various factions, but it is a country, which also has interactions at the national level, including with Daxia. These national institutions, ordinary people dare not touch. But who does the Mengu army fear? They have Yingyu country behind them. Yingyu country has always regarded Daxia as the #1 enemy. If these two superpowers directly enter the fray, the whole world would be engulfed in flames of war. No one dares to do that. However, proxy wars are fought daily. As long as the Mengu army takes this step, does Daxia Hidden Dragon still have the leisure to hunt down the Li Tian clan all over the country? This is exactly the strategy of encircling Wei to rescue Zhao in military tactics. In the dim corridor next door, the chess piece in the left envoy's hand had not yet fallen, and his brows did not relax a bit despite his brilliant move. Master Left Envoy, everything went as you expected. Why are you still somewhat worried? Qing Ru offered a cup of tea and handed it to the left envoy. The left envoy took the teacup, lightly flicked his fingers, and the white piece that was spinning on his fingertip drew a beautiful arc, landing back into the chess box. He gently blew on the tea surface. If everything were as I planned, I naturally have no reason to worry. However, things did not go entirely as I planned. Lin Zaiasu in this first phase, which side of the calm waters will the piece floating outside the chessboard disturb? Regarding the upcoming chess game, what strategies has the left envoy envisaged? The left envoy said, a cunning opponent, an opponent who acts unpredictably. If he sets the questions, the risk is too high. So I don't plan to let him control the game. I will control this game and let him respond. Turning the Mengu into a piece on his own chessboard. This was the brilliant move of the left envoy, turning a passive move into an active one. A truly skilled chess player needs to have the ability to control the whole board and must not just respond on the opponent's board. The left envoy is the true chess player of the Li Tian clan. However, he is not a god. He could not predict the extreme strategy Lin Zaiasu would play next. 7 military vehicles sped away from the Sangmu Temple, sped away from the Lishan Valley, sped past the towns ahead. Beyond the mouth of the valley ahead lies the control zone of the Mengu army. Just as all military vehicles were passing through the valley, one after another. Suddenly, from the mountaintop, a huge boulder rolled down. Thump! Accurately striking the foremost military vehicle. There were 5 people in this military vehicle, all of them genetic people, their reactions incredibly swift. Facing the descending giant stone, they almost simultaneously leaped up. The vehicle roared into flames, and they all escaped. All the military vehicles behind simultaneously braked sharply. Everyone's gazes simultaneously lifted. Whoosh! A sharp sword light sliced across the sky, accompanied by a figure appearing from nowhere. The 5 genetic masters who dodged the boulder did not escape this soul-chasing sword. One stroke, and they were dead. It's him, Tor roared madly, kill. Whoosh! 7 discs shot into the battlefield at almost invisible speed. Tor jumped high, avoiding this terrifying attack, feeling the chill grazing past his neck. He was internally convinced that this attacker must be Lin Zaiasu. Knowing that the opponent was Lin Zaiasu made him realize today's situation was perilous beyond words. In an instant, he went all out. Yet in the face of absolute power, it was futile. His neck suddenly felt cold, blood splattered into the sky. Tor's consciousness remained for a moment inside his head, and as his head spun in the air, he could still see his subordinates perishing one by one. Finally, the head thudded onto the ground, and his consciousness vanished. The gunfire stopped after sounding off. The sword light flashed by and disappeared. Amid the hustle and bustle in the field, Ultimately, everything settled. Lin Zaiyasu spun in midair, landing in front of Tor's corpse. He reached out, changing clothes. The outfit was full of bloodstains. The head had its eyes wide open in anger. Lin Zaiyasu stared at this head for a moment. His face slowly changed, and soon a new Tor stood in the valley, his foot lifted, and the head flew 20 meters away, crashing into the rock and turning into blood pulp. Lin Zaiyasu straightened his military uniform, put on Tor's hat, and sat in the military vehicle. Boom! The military vehicle started, bypassing the big rock in front. It sped towards the Mengu military camp. On the outskirts of the Mengu military camp, there were sentry posts. However, Tor's military vehicle was naturally exempt from inspection. When a few soldiers saw Tor's face, as gloomy as if he was about to devour someone, their hearts trembled heavily. What happened? It must be something unparalleled in magnitude. The military vehicle sped forward, bypassing 7 sentry posts, and headed straight for the camp. This had already drawn the attention of all the officers. As soon as the vehicle stopped, Tor, with a grim face, rushed towards the general mansion, leaving bloody footprints in his wake. "Colonel, what happened?" someone on the left shouted. Tor's voice was hoarse. "Everything was done by the divine temple. They've already confessed." With these words, the faces of all the officers on the roadside changed drastically. Was it really them? Why would they do this? Tor hurried along. "They've already sided with Daxia." What, is Daxia also going to formally step in? It's not surprising, right? In the Middle East, all the major foreign powers have already stepped in. Tor suddenly stood firm on the steps ahead. The Divine Temple has obtained weapons from Daxia. Their first stage goal is to eliminate Mengu and dominate the southwest. Eliminate Mengu, one colonel stepped forward. How dare they act so ruthlessly? Another lieutenant colonel approached from the right. "Colonel, sir, what about the others?" "Dead, they're all dead." Tor was both grieving and furious, filled with endless hatred. "They all died at the hands of the Divine Temple. I struggled with all my might and barely escaped." As he said this, he stumbled, his body unstable, and his right chest gushed with blood, as if the wound had burst open, leaving even more blood at his feet. This piece of terrible news shook the entire army. His tragic expression seemed to infect the entire army as well. Several generals roared in unison, "Exterminate them! Exterminate them! This vengeance must be avenged! Avenge!" The cries rocked the skies and the earth. Several military doctors quickly ran over. "Colonel, sir, you need to treat your wound first." Tor waved his hand fiercely. "I won't die yet, I must first see the general." "We will go together." A few generals were fully ignited with rage. A stream of angry officers surged toward the general mansion. In front of the general mansion, Tor raised his hand. "You all guard outside first, I will report to the general alone." "All right." He stumbled in, and each step left a bloody footprint. This blood continued to fuel the flames of the Mengu core, fury, and more people gathered. As the crowd grew, words became uncontrollable, and calls to use missiles to retaliate against the Divine Temple gradually became the loudest outcry. However, their opinions were merely for reference. The one to make the final decision could only be the general. Tor entered the general mansion and walked through the corridor. Inside the general mansion, every corner was protected by masters. However, there were no masters at the door of the inner room, because this was the general's routine. He didn't like others being too close to him. This might be a common trait among those who have risen from deadly battlefields to high ranks step by step. They themselves rose through betrayal and backstabbing, so anyone who got close to him would trigger his internal alert. The room door opened, then closed. Tor moved forward step by step. In front was a giant floor-to-ceiling window. Beneath the window, a huge sofa. At the door, a tight screen. On the sofa sat a person, and behind the sofa, a beautiful woman. The beauty was a legendary figure in Mengu, awakening with the ice and snow superpower. Everyone thought she was the top expert in Mengu, but only a few high-ranking generals knew it was nonsense. If she were the top expert, why would she spend day and night pleasing the general? The one who could conquer the top expert was the true top expert. The top expert in the Mengu army was the general himself. Tor dragged his severely injured body in front of General Ji Pyo, who seemed entirely oblivious to the blood flowing from Tor's body. He raised his gaze. "I have already heard the sounds outside, and I know about the situation." Tor said, "General sir, how do you plan to handle this?" General Gpio said, "You should heal first. Once you're well, I permit you to lead a team to kill some of them to avenge today's enmity." Tor's expression darkened. "General sir, the opinion of the soldiers is to retaliate today, to wash them clean with missiles." Missile washing? How lightly spoken. Gpio's expression also suddenly darkened. "These missiles come from Yingyu country, and the top echelons of Yingyu country don't wish for us to truly use them. Maintaining the current state of division without revealing our cards most aligns with their strategic interests. If we wash them clean with missiles today, it would only provide a moment of satisfaction. The result would be that the forces behind us would cut off our supply of materials. The Mengu army would then become an abandoned pawn, and consequently a sacrificial lamb in the Middle Eastern chaos. This is the card behind the Middle Eastern chaos. Various countries support countless armed forces, but don't allow them to cross the red line. Why? Because national-level games are extremely complex and sensitive. Fighting without breaking, dividing with degrees, allows those politicians to continuously obtain military budget support from Congress and achieve their various goals through such tense situations. Once the cards are directly revealed, it's very easy to push them from behind the scenes to the front stage. Such is the logic of proxy warfare, where 1,000 fellow cultivators can die, but oneself must not be directly harmed. This is something General Gpio understood, and he believed that as long as he made things clear, the colonel in front of him should understand as well. However, Tor's gaze lifted, revealing a very strange look. "General sir, you will change your mind." Gpio frowned. "Why?" "Because." Chapter 402, Missiles Sweeping the Ground. The word Tor had barely left his mouth when, with a wave of his hand, an extremely sharp sword light swept across. The beauty behind General Gpio suddenly widened her eyes as a thin red line appeared on her neck. Gpio's whole body trembled and suddenly jerked upwards. However, what greeted him was a completely different sword light from before. The sword light, as vast as a great mountain, pressed him back down. With a light booming sound, a long sword struck his forehead, and a surging powerful inner strength penetrated his skull, instantly turning General Gpio's brain into mush. General Gpio's eyes widened suddenly. Tor slowly leaned down and finished saying what he wanted, "Because I will make the decision for you." As his voice fell, Tor's appearance began to change, transforming into the likeness of General Gpio. He was, of course, not Tor, he was Lin Zaiasu. Lin Zaiasu extended his hand, took off the colonel's uniform he was wearing, and put on General Gpio's uniform, donned his military cap, and with his hand, the beauty behind the sofa shot like an arrow into another room. He cleaned up the bloodstains behind the sofa, picked up General Gpio's body, and placed it in the small room. A minute later, he exited the room and locked the door. Then he sat on the sofa and called out, "Someone come here." Two people entered from outside the screen at the same time. "At your command, General." Lin Zaiasu said in a deep voice, "Colonel Tor is badly injured and needs to be bedridden for recovery. You two guard the door. No one is allowed to enter the room." "Yes." The two stood to the left and right outside the room door. Lin Zaiasu stood up and strode outside. The main door of the general mansion was suddenly pulled open, and on the steps outside, the various chattering voices abruptly fell silent. Lin Zaiasu spoke in a somber tone. "Colonel Tor is severely injured and may not be able to survive this trial." The hearts of everyone present skipped a beat. Lin Zaiasu spoke coldly. "Sangmu Temple has allied with Daxia, already a dire threat to me. Their strategy to annihilate my Mengu has been unveiled, even more perilous. Our 31 men sincerely negotiated, and 30 were killed by them. Tor may not escape the clutches of death either. This action completely breaks the bounds of both parties. The Mengu stands in the world with dominance. For killing one of ours, we repay tenfold. They wish to destroy us. I will destroy them first." As his voice fell, all the generals present raised their hands in unison. "Annihilate! Annihilate! Annihilate! Missile Brigade!" Lin Zaiasu shouted. "At your service, General." A bearded officer stepped forward, bearing the rank of Major. "Activate all missiles." "Yes." The brigade leader of the missile brigade waved his hand, rumbling. 100 missile launch vehicles raised their missiles in unison. The ground manhole covers slid aside, revealing the dark holes below. The scene was so magnificent, yet so terrifying. "General, this." A colonel rushed to Lin Zaiasu, drenched in sweat. This won't do, please be more cautious, be more cautious. His name was Lei Sen, bearing the rank of colonel, the third-ranking figure in the Mengu army. Lin Zaiasu's gaze was incomparably stern as it darkened. With a major battle at hand, you dare disrupt the morale of our army. Under his gaze, Lei Sen's whole body tensed, and his lips began to tremble slightly. Considering your past merits, I won't hold it against you today, but let everyone remember from now on, anyone daring to show weakness to the enemy or collude with them will be shot on the spot. Clatter. Behind him, a row of soldiers sharply raised their rifles. The entire crowd fell silent. The brigade leader of the missile brigade stepped forward, passing an electronic screen to Lin Zaiasu. Missiles are fully activated, awaiting your authorization, General. Lin Zaiasu extended a finger, touching the electronic screen. Like a stone dropped into a calm pool, sending out endless ripples. Boom! More than 100 missiles simultaneously shot into the sky. This was the first wave. Following that from the silos, the second wave. The second wave was larger, with as many as 200 missiles. Lin Zaiasu silently took a breath, a hint of cold sweat on his back. Launching missiles is no simple task. A single command is not enough. Approval passwords are also needed. He had been in and out of the Mengu army, knowing that General Jipio used fingerprint authorization, but he didn't know which finger exactly, nor could he trace it. Because in recent months, General Jipio hadn't launched any missiles. Just as he said, missiles are more of a deterrence than actual use. Its true use signifies overturning the table. The Mengu army is, after all, merely a dog kept by Yingyu country. It can intimidate, it can bite, but overturning the table, that power is not in its hands. With no other option, he could only resort to the dumbest method, peeling the skin off all of General Jipio's fingers to paste onto his own. He planned to try several times. He first tried the right middle finger, aligning with most people's habits. It worked on the first try. The missiles launched, indeed a spectacular sight. 300 smoke trails pierced the sky, directly heading for the preset target, Sangmu Temple. At Sangmu Temple, it was already afternoon. The left envoy originally had the habit of taking an afternoon nap, but today he seemed unable to untie a knot in his mind, so he didn't nap. His way of leisure was playing chess with Qing Ru. Using chess to organize his thoughts, using chess to gain inspiration, perhaps a habit he brought from the distant east. Suddenly, the room door was flung open. The left envoy's eyebrows twitched slightly, staring at the elderly man in black rushing in. What happened? Lord Left Envoy, the elder said, the Mengu missiles have been launched and their target is us. What? Qing Ru sprang up, the chessboard before him completely disrupted. The left envoy also suddenly stood up, his face shifting like stormy clouds. The elder's voice was urgent and rapid. They left the Divine Temple in a group of 31 and returned to Mengu, but only one person returned, Tor. Tor told everyone that yesterday's events were all the doing of the Divine Temple, that the Divine Temple had already defected to Daxia, intending to destroy Mengu, and cruelly killed the 30 who came today. General Jipio was furious and activated the ultimate kill method. 300 missiles have broken through the sky. Qing Ru's face changed dramatically. 300. Yes, it emptied all of Mengu's stock. Go. The left envoy's face dark as water stepped out of the room. The three of them dashed wildly, just reaching the entrance of the temple, the sky cluttered with countless black dots. Lin Zaiasu, you ruthless. The left envoy's face was distorted, rushing into the basement. Swish, swish, swish. 7 or 8 figures shot like lightning, also plunging into the basement. Boom! The temple was directly hit by the first wave of missiles. More than 10 green stone halls, standing for hundreds of years in wind and rain, turned to smoke and dust. The second wave, half the temple vanished to ashes. The third wave, in the outside arena, countless people were torn to pieces. The fourth wave. The 40th wave. The entire mountain turned into ruins. The 3 valleys where the Li Tian clan lived also faced a rain of missiles. 200 missiles, carrying the wrath beyond the 9 heavens, smashed into the valleys one after another, shaking the earth and shattering the mountains. Boulders flew, houses, caves, pavilions, green stone roads, all turned into dust in the battlefield. Below, countless Li Tian clan members transformed into fierce beasts, fleeing quickly, however, in the face of modern destructive power. Whether they could escape with their lives depended not on their skills, but on probability, on luck. Underneath the ruins in the basement, dust was everywhere. The explosion outside was continuous, unending. The ground shook. It seemed like the end of the world. In the basement, the electric light had already gone out. A candle was lit, surrounding more than a dozen people in a secret room, their faces twitching. Damn it, what the hell is going on? With a bang, the great elder punched heavily on the green stone wall, punching a big hole. No one answered, at least. The elders beside him couldn't answer, because everyone was completely baffled. A missile strike of this magnitude only happens in the fiercest of battles, yet this time there was no warning, not a hint. The left envoy lightly brushed his clothes, slowly lifting his gaze. Everyone's eyes fixed squarely on the left envoy's face. Left envoy, the sage of the clan. Highly respected, extremely capable, the great elder was very wary of him, so the elder council didn't get too close to him. But when an unexpected event occurred, everyone was still willing to listen to him. The left envoy's face was calm at this moment. Earlier he had shown distortion, ferocity, bewilderment, but now he was completely composed. He seemed still seated in the Divine Temple's conference hall, facing any predicament with a calm demeanor, a casual word solving everyone's confusion, the psychological anchor of the crowd. The left envoy gently exhaled, Linzai Asu. Linzai Asu, the great elder exclaimed. Yes, I anticipated he would exploit this meeting to stir things up, but I didn't expect, instead of doing it during the talks, he did it on the road back of the Mengu officers. The left envoy said. He ambushed the road, killed all the Mengu officers, used transformation technique to become Colonel Tor, returned to the Mengu military camp, framed the Divine Temple at will, incited Jipaio, executing the missile strike. Everyone looked at each other, finally understanding. The left envoy had already sent word to the Elder Council yesterday to beware of Lin Zaiasu provoking conflict during the talks. Make the framing real. The Elder Council believed him. They made comprehensive preparations, hosting guests in an open venue on their side, mixing in the Nirvana super gene people's shocking god. As long as Lin Zaiasu slipped into the Mengu officer ranks, they would capture him on the spot. However, Lin Zaiasu never showed. It seemed the otherwise infallible left envoy was finally wrong, yet now the results reinterpreted. The left envoy was right. Lin Zaiasu indeed exploited this meeting for a major scheme. However, the path he chose was changed. This change was terrifying. The negotiating team was wiped out. The only escapee Tor was his impersonation. He returned to Mengu wounded. Any way you put it, people would believe him. That is to say, the negotiation results depended entirely on his word. The Mengu army officers, each representing reckless behavior, couldn't stand being bullied. When he spun his lies, set the rhythm, which officer or reckless soldier wouldn't be stirred with passion. The second elder spoke. Even if the entire army is stirred with passion, Jipaio isn't the type to be easily swayed. How could he be incited? Doesn't he know what consequences firing all the missiles would bring? The great elder also said, yes, Jipaio has never been one to act impulsively, and he may not even trust Tor. How could he fall for this scoundrel's false accusations and truly fall into his trap? The elder council, for the moment, all talked at once, all grasping this loophole. Everyone knew Jipaio well, understood that this guy was a man of great strategic insight. He was absolutely not someone to be incited easily. The left envoy said calmly, do you elders still think that the one who gave the missile wipeout order was really General Jipaio? Chapter 406, Chapter 406, The Grand Plan. Technology itself is constantly being updated and iterated. The Earthfall beasts are not invincible, the left envoy said. What's more, currently only Elder Dai can control the Earthfall beasts, and after this control, he also needs to rest for a while. The initial high spirits of all the elders were effectively suppressed. This is another vulnerability. The great elder took a deep breath. What is the left envoy thinking? Can you reveal everything to us? The left envoy swept his gaze around. This place was at the top of a cliff, with only 4 elders beside him, making it arguably the safest environment. He said, elders, that grand plan needs to be expedited. All the elders were greatly shocked. That grand plan. This is a plan that has been operated on for generations by the Li Tian clan. It can be said to be the biggest plan of the entire Li Tian clan. The great elder said, our generation of clan members have moved faster than any previous generation. Our efforts have already taken root in many directions, but the timing is not yet mature. I also know the timing isn't right, but the situation is pressing us. We have no time, we must advance it, the left envoy said. Because of the emergence of the Earthfall Beast army. A super army that shouldn't exist in this world, in an extremely tumultuous and sensitive world structure. By tomorrow morning at the latest, major news media will be broadcasting this explosive news, and we will have the global spotlight on us. The left envoy said, we cannot withstand this kind of pressure ourselves. We must have the endorsement of a nation. Taking dirt a country in a short time, this is impossible, the great elder said. No, there's one way, the only way, the left envoy said. What? The ancestor mountain, sacred lotus. The faces of the four elders changed simultaneously, becoming extremely solemn. After a long while, the great elder let out a long breath. The sacred lotus doesn't leave ancestor mountain. That's an iron rule of 10,000 years. They won't possibly agree to us. It's up to us to strive. I can personally make this trip, the left envoy said. The great elder said, how do you plan to persuade the ancestor hall elder council? One positive, one negative. On the positive side, I'll frankly tell the ancestor hall, lend me the sacred lotus and I'll return the national foundation to them, the left envoy said. On the negative side, if the ancestor hall doesn't agree, then my utopia will withdraw from the divine temple, thereby severing communication with the ancestor hall. If you're willing to lend the sacred lotus, I'll take Dirta entirely, and from then on this country will be the ancestor hall's backyard, with all kinds of resources and supplies readily available. If you're not willing to lend the sacred lotus, well, there's no way after all, my divine temple is already destroyed, and I no longer rely on anything from the ancestor hall. Cutting off the connection between the two realms, you've also completely severed yourself from the outside world. This is the scheme of the left envoy, and also his resolve. The mountain wind rose, the great elders glanced at each other, and finally the great elder let out a long sigh. Under the current circumstances, we have no choice but to agree. I agree. 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 The four elders reached a consensus. This matter was settled. Since there were only 7 elders in the divine temple, and they consistently followed the principle of the minority obeying the majority, with 4 agreeing, the decision was made. With the grand plan reached, the 5 of them collectively left the general mansion and embarked on their return journey. They would never have thought that what they considered absolutely secret was not so under a pair of heavenly Tao wisdom eyes 10 miles away. Lin Zaiasu shifted 4 positions, using heavenly Tao wisdom eye and time-space reversal, deciphering all the words spoken by everyone through lip reading. The Divine Temple's high-level personnel spoke in Chinese. Lip reading made it even easier. Once deciphered, endless waves surged in Lin Zaiasu's heart. That grand plan, he roughly deciphered that it was actually a nation-building plan. Utopia actually has such an ambitious plan. From their standpoint, having this kind of plan is also reasonable, but wanting to seize a nation, how difficult it is. Just as the left envoy said, changing a nation isn't equivalent to suppressing a battlefield. A battlefield at a national level isn't just about blood and iron on the sand. There are countless lines, countless old foxes in the political arena, international coercion and bribery. How can a mere earthful beast army control a country? In feudal societies, perhaps conquest through force was possible, but in modern society this way isn't popular anymore. So the question arises, what exactly is the ancestor mountain sacred lotus? Why did no one doubt the sacred lotus itself's ability to achieve the goal of changing a nation when the left envoy mentioned it, and only focused on whether it could be obtained? What kind of lotus is this? What unbelievable effects does it have? The most profound impression Lin Zaiasu has of a lotus is perhaps still the 3 lotuses mentioned by the ancient great power or great demon in the sea of consciousness, the lost lotus, sun lotus, and moon lotus. These 3 lotuses are all related to the subdivine skill. The subdivine skill is most skilled in control. Could it be that this ancestor mountain sacred lotus is one of those 3 lotuses? Could it be that this lotus is the deepest hidden trump card of Utopia? Utopia's trump card, he's been probing continuously. Like digging for lotus roots in a pond, the more you dig, the deeper it gets. Where is Ancestor Mountain? All of this to him is shrouded in mist. However, Lin Zaiasu's interest was really piqued. Very well, let's set aside battlefield games for the moment next. We'll engage in a war spy. With a step, Lin Zaiasu emerged through the mountain, from Mengu military camp to the Divine Temple's location, traversing far through the valley. But on the mountain top, the journey wasn't far. It could even be said that the two major forces were on two sides of the same mountain range. Crossing over three mountain ridges, below was the Divine Temple's location. Lin Zaiasu's gaze fell on the Divine Temple ruins, on the three valleys below, with an indescribable feeling. Was I too ruthless in my actions? The entire Divine Temple was gone. The valley was almost entirely turned over. But there was no choice. Utopia conducts itself without limits, so who asked them? Today, let you experience a taste of mountain collapse and earth crack, so perhaps you can deeply understand what the Earthcore strange race means to the world. A few military vehicles sped past. On the very first vehicle sat that elder Dai. The vehicle behind him was loaded with military supplies. The valley began to bustle. No one noticed that among the bustling convoy there was an outsider. His skin tone was similar to that of the local Li Tian clan members, with a trace of weathering. He was wearing the attire of the temple guards. He was carrying a rocket launcher, following a large group of guards into the Divine Temple. Throughout the day, he was in and out, quite diligent. The captain nodded to him appreciatively. The setting sun sank westward. Beneath the ruins of the temple, in front of a strange large gate. The patterns on this gate were exceedingly complex. A ball of fire above. A surface of water below. Wood on the left side. Gold on the right side. Earth in the middle. The gate of the 5 elements. 7 elders gathered together. In front of them were 2 people, one in white and one in black. The one in white was the left envoy, and the one in black was Qing Ru, the left envoy's inseparable subordinate. "Open it," ordered the great elder. The second elder raised his hand, and an ancient cane spat out a flame that shot toward the flame pattern above. The pattern suddenly came alive, as if a ball of fire burning on the gate. The third elder's cane spat out a stream of emerald water, giving movement to the water on the gate. The fourth elder's cane bloomed a red spider lily, the flower's tendrils extending to the tree on the gate. The fifth elder's cane acted like a knife, striking a single blow on a blade on the right side. The great elder wielded a cane that emanated golden light, tapping in the center. Gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. The 5 elements gathered. The gate silently opened, revealing an infinitely deep passageway extending to the earth's core depths. The left envoy and Qing Ru stepped into the passage side by side. The heavy iron gate slowly closed behind them. "Great elder, is there no improvement in the leader's injury?" asked the second elder. This might be a shared thought when confronted with a major event, hoping the leader would appear and offer reassurance to everyone. The great elder gently shook his head. There was some improvement, but the death of the shocking god compounded his injury, I'm afraid. It will not improve anytime soon. Shocking God was his only son and an unprecedented genetic miracle. The leader had high hopes for him. We outsiders can empathize with how heavy this blow is, let alone him, who is in the middle of it. The elders shook their heads in sighs and went their separate ways. Today, May 13th. The moon rose. Although not very round, it draped the ruins of the temple in a layer of silver light. The bombed temple had begun repairs. The dwelling houses in the valley began reconstruction. The scars of war would ultimately be slowly erased by time, though this time may be very prolonged. But the newly acquired weapon supplies still reinvigorated the clan members. Many practiced shooting in the arena, experiencing the thrill brought by the new warfare mode. In the past, most utopians despised hot weapons. They believed that with the super combat genes their ancestors bestowed upon them, they could sweep the world. However, hot weapons struck them in the head, leaving them with a deep impression of the terror of hot weapons. There are signs that after this ordeal, the people of Utopia will move towards a combination of special skills and modern weapons. This is, perhaps, another kind of nirvana rebirth. There were soldiers at the entrance to the basement, the elite of the entire temple. Among them, one person entered the basement. The basement was vast, like an underground maze. The basement was also bustling. Before the temple's reconstruction, the important elders needed to handle clan affairs underground. Handling affairs required manpower. Setting up offices, configuring office personnel, smoothing office procedures. there was always a chaotic period of time. Amid the chaos, no one noticed an ordinary guard-looking person entering a secret chamber. This secret chamber was the very place where the important elders first gathered when the missile bombardment began. The person who entered was Lin Zaiasu. In the darkness, he did not light a candle because he did not need to. With the heavenly Tao wisdom eye, assisted by time-space reversal, he saw the scene of Elder Dai's return and traced back to the scene when Elder Dai came out. Elder Dai was indeed his first critical target. Why? It originated from the words of the left envoy. The Dai Luo army at this stage, only one person in the temple could control it, and that was Elder Dai. Elder Dai, after this manipulation, requires a period of rest. These words, the left envoy, used to persuade the elders to remain calm. Do not believe that with the fallen beast army in hand, they are free to roam the world. The elders listened and understood. What no one expected was that there was another person who also listened and understood. That person was Lin Zaiasu. Chapter 407. Chapter 407. Kill Elder Dai, tear the trump card. The terrifying destructive power of the Dai Luo army left him in shock. If such a fierce beast army followed the Li Tian clan's deployment to target and eliminate Daxia's various overseas institutions and people, no one could escape, including even the heavily guarded embassies. Lin Zaiasu couldn't kill all the Earthfall beasts. However, with the left envoy's reminder, he found a shortcut: kill Elder Dai. With Elder Dai gone, no one at the moment could control the Earthfall beasts. No matter how terrifying the Earthfall beasts are, without anyone to control them, they're nothing. A sharp blade, no matter how cutting, without a hand to wield it, is nothing. Lin Zaiasu extended his hand and touched a button on the stone wall. The door in front opened silently, revealing a dark secret room inside. In the secret room, there lay a pitch-black coffin. Inside the coffin lay an old man. It was Elder Dai. Elder Dai's eyes suddenly snapped open. As they did, Lin Zaiasu, standing before the coffin, suddenly had a bizarre feeling, as if a vast abyss lay before him, with a coffin floating in it. The coffin suddenly opened, and a skeletal hand, seemingly endless, pointed at his brow. Lin Zaiasu raised his hand, and the sword fell. This strike didn't target the deadly skeletal hand, but the void. The void seemed to contain nothing. However, swish. A soft sound, and the skeletal hand vanished like smoke. The abyss vanished like smoke. Inside the coffin, a head separated from the body, Elder Dai's eyes wide open in disbelief. His thin finger had already touched Lin Zaiasu's throat, and just slid down slowly. Lin Zaiasu's back also seeped with a layer of cold sweat. This old man followed the usual practices of the utopian upper echelon, skilled in illusion technique. Moreover, his skill far exceeded that of Huikong, the chairman of Utopia's central region. Huikong needed to use the lotus on his chest to create an illusion realm. He didn't need it. He only needed his own pair of eyes. When the eyes opened, the illusion realm was formed. The illusion realm constructed a vast abyss, a coffin, and a skeletal hand. All of this was an illusion. Then there was also a real attack, the real attack being a finger without any sound or killing intent. Such a death trap, half real, half fictitious. Such a death trap, the stronger one's battle instincts, the more they would be misled. Probably only Lin Zaiasu would be an exception, because his heavenly Tao wisdom eye could see through illusions. Also because his sub-god skill had reached level 20. Even so, Elder Dai's illusion caused his primordial spirit in his brain to ripple, showing that it was strongly impacted, the shockwave being the sub-god's aftermath. For the first time in his life facing sub-god strikes, the bewildering eeriness and terror were quite overwhelming. Lin Zaiasu took a deep breath and extended his hand, taking the flute from the coffin, which belonged to Elder Dai. This flute was heavy, ice cold to the touch. With his heavenly Tao wisdom eye deciphering layer by layer, Lin Zaiasu was shocked again. This flute was neither metal, nor bamboo or wood, nor jade. It was made of Earthfall Beast scale. Earthfall Beast scale was extremely thin, theoretically unable to make a flute, yet this flute in his hand was clearly made of Earthfall Beast scale. The reason it could be so extraordinary was only one: the scale was unbelievably large, unbelievably thick, and not silver but jade in texture. Could it be this was the ancestral scale of the Earthfall Beast series? Precisely because it was the ancestral scale, the flute made from it could command the earthfall beasts. Regardless, there's no way to verify that right now, because at this moment, he had infiltrated the divine temple. Even just the encounter with Elder Dai gave him a new understanding of the temple's foundation. A wondrous race that has been transmitting for thousands of years. Their trump cards do indeed refresh constantly. Blindly disturbing them is courting death. The flute was stored in the secret realm space. The room's door closed once again. Elder Dai died in the secret room, and in the short term probably won't be discovered. Why? Because Elder Dai's rest differed from ordinary people's rest. Due to controlling the Dai Luo army, he had consumed a lot of spiritual power, needing to sleep in an absolutely quiet environment to recover his spiritual power. This kind of rest did not require eating or drinking, nor needing service, just needing one point: others should not disturb. Now it was done. This flute player who terrified the world with a single strike rested quietly. The time of rest would be eternal. Lin Asu in this secret room made a quick entry and exit, ending a person's life, and also ended the Divine Temple's recently played trump card. But his journey wasn't over. He had an even bolder plan. Twisting through the passage, he came upon a bronze gate. Lin Asu performed a time-space reversal, seeing the scene where the seventh elders bid farewell to two people. This gate required almost all the elders of the temples joint approval to open, because their canes each had their own mysteries. 5 canes gathering could open this 5 elements gate. Theoretically, no one in the world could open it by themselves. However, many common understandings had already been overturned by Lin Asu here. With a wave of his hand, a crimson stone flew towards the flame on the door. His hand moved, and the sword gleamed, striking the stone door with 4 rapid cuts like lightning. Each of those 4 cuts carried a different form of energy. The cut on the left, boundless with vitality, was imbued with the energy of wood. The cut below, gentle and fluid, held the energy of water. The cut on the right, sharp beyond compare, bore the energy of metal. The cut in the center, extremely heavy, contained the energy of earth. Within him, the energies of the 5 elements lacked fire. No matter, from Shenghua Valley, he had received a batch of array stones, among which there was a fire array stone. It could serve as a substitute. Soundlessly, the door opened. Lin Asu stepped into the passage, the stone door silently closing behind him. Inside the temple, masterful figures were abundant. Outside the temple, vigilance was strict. No one knew, under the gazes of all, their most loathed person, Lin Asu, had entered the basement, killed Elder Dai, and opened the gate that required the gathering of 5 elders, entering a secret place in this world. Perhaps the most secretive place. The passage was long, seemingly endless. The passage was deep, growing deeper with each step. The passage was quiet. Lin Asu finally understood that in an absolutely quiet environment, one can hear their own heartbeat. The passage had many forks. Had he been alone, he might have gotten lost, but fortunately, his time-space reversal was powerful enough, and he followed the silhouettes from hours ago traversing the passage. The white-clothed left envoy, the black-clothed king grew. Watching them walk through the darkness, with a light gait as if they were ancient nobles, Lin Asu felt a strange sense of familiarity with them. Who possesses such an elegant and carefree demeanor? Among women, there's Miao Yin. Among men, there's Xiang Yixu. Another person had given Lin Asu a similar feeling. Although he never walked with such a gait in front of Lin Asu, the aura one exudes doesn't necessarily need to be expressed through their gait. This was Lin Weiyang, the owner of Bai Shan residence. Lin Weiyang was truly an enigmatic person. A professor, noble and moral, he resolutely exposed the recruitment from foreign organizations, bearing the brunt of their suppression, sacrificing his wife and children. Effortlessly transitioned from academia to business, amassing hundreds of millions in a decade. He earned not for wealth, but to fulfill a dream, establishing the Mountain and Sea Club with sincere intentions, using entertainment as a guise for salvation. He casually told Lin Asu 2 things: a person with 2 shadows, and a place hiding the blade that threatened him. The person was the shadowy Heaven King, the place was Sangmu Temple. One must admit, the high level of this information and the precision of this judgment deeply moved Lin Asu. Such clues could never be provided by Qianlong King. But Lin Weiyang could. What kind of person is he? If he is a friend, he would be a valuable ally. If not, then what kind of figure would he be? Lin Zaiasu lightly shook his head. Some matters in the world should wait until he returns to address. But this road ahead doesn't seem like a path leading back to the world. There's light ahead. Lin Zaiasu's heart skipped a beat. Was he there? He lightened his steps almost soundlessly, advancing slowly with each step. The passage gradually opened up. The scene before him was nearly unbelievable. Mountains rolling, red lights suffusing the sky, and a landscape as clear as day, bearing no resemblance to any underground appearance. Yet under the heavenly Tao wisdom eye, he distinctly saw the sky had a lid. Which means the sky is not a virtual sky in the usual sense, but objectively an actual ground. This space is, in fact, a cavern beneath the surface. However, this cave is vast, boundless. He could see at least 100 miles away without seeing an end. Standing at the passage exit, watching the rolling mountains felt identical to standing on a mountain's peak, watching them with the setting sun in the surface world. The surrounding light was like the remnants of a setting sun, a blaze of red. What is emitting this light? Lin Zaiasu narrowed his gaze, seeing them clearly, the volcanoes. Volcanoes were everywhere, illuminating this underground space. Below the mountain lay a volcanic lake, where the boiling lava churned, and heated air greeted him, carrying no fresh scent but a strong smell of sulfur. In front stood a mountain god temple. The passage exit he stood upon lay conspicuously in the backyard of this mountain god temple. Lin Zaiasu took 3 steps forward, suddenly halting. Before him appeared 2 silhouettes. These two, their appearance was little different from local Middle Eastern people on the surface, yet the clothes they wore were made of a fabric never seen before. Fibers were coarse like hemp ropes, but had a faint shine, not appearing shabby when worn. "Who are you?" 6 words spoken by the middle-aged man on the left. In Mandarin, "I am a Lijiang clan member. The left envoy forgot something very important. The elder ordered me to deliver it promptly," Lin Zaiasu replied. Their faces slightly relaxed. The person on the right said, "To enter the bridge realm, yet forget something important. What's wrong with that head? All right, give it to me and hurry back." The elder said this item is extremely crucial. It must be handed directly to the left envoy, not through others, Lin Zaiasu replied. The person on the left grew annoyed. A mere outer sect, yet so many rules. All right, said the person on the right. Extend your hand for a test. As long as you're truly a clan member, entering briefly is of no concern. He extended his hand, revealing a compass with glowing green light, upon which lay a sharp needle tainted with traces of blood. Blood test. To confirm his identity as a Lijiang clan member. Lin Zaiasu furrowed his brows. Is there really a need to be so meticulous at work? What, you have an objection? Both men's gazes lifted simultaneously, exceedingly authoritative. Lin Zaiasu sighed softly. I somewhat understand the lamentation frequently expressed by cattle and horses. People who are too meticulous with their work often die unexpectedly. Slash. 2 heads simultaneously flew up.